Yeah, because we can take stuff out. We might start streaming live on Twitch because people over there don't give a shit if you.
Sure.
Yeah, but then on like Facebook, if your aunt is like, "Why did you swear?"
Oh yeah, that's gonna happen quite a bit if that's alright.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's my natural.
No, we highly encourage swearing, but
that sailor's mouth.
yeah, please tell your mom, tell your aunts, tell your grandma.
Oh, they raised me like that, so that's not gonna be an issue.
And we're ready to
Oh,
rock.
cool! It's going.
Hey.
Awesome.
Hey,
Hey,
welcome to the Rotating Tap Podcast.
Welcome to the Rotating Tap Podcast.
Yeah, I'm Corey David.
I'm Steve Vanderplug.
And we're here at Primitive Brewing today.
In Longmont, Colorado, with
Hello.
Brandon and Lisa. Say hello.
Hello.
Cool.
That was Brandon saying hello. Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to be here today. I have actually never had primitive beer, so
You will.
yeah,
That's gonna
You're about
change.
you're about to hook me. I've had beer. Every podcast guest we've had on before, I've like had at least one of their beers, and this is the first time that I've never actually had anything. So I'm excited.
Well, I mean, your guys' stuff is kind of hard to get in the first place, right? Isn't that kind of by design?
Just by quantity.
Yeah, mostly by technique and just the amount of time it takes to make the beer.
Yeah.
In our perfect world, we would be able to get that beer to the hands of whoever wants it, but it takes between 2 and 3 years from brew day to when we're actually releasing those beers.
Boy, what a dumb business model. I
It
can't
is
believe.
Yeah, we should
We
be
have
making.
fun with it, but it is not smart business.
Yeah, more people would be interested in what we're making if it was whiskey, which takes the same amount of time, or
Yeah.
bourbon. So we decided to make something that takes a while and also is less desirable to a broader
Boy,
audience.
infuriating. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean this is only 4%?
Yeah.
Why does my Bud Light taste like funk? Yeah.
And if you're hearing something in the background, that's one of our fruit re-fermentations.
Bubbling away.
I was hoping you were going to say it was like the brewery cat.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
cat.
lurking
The
around.
cat.
It does sound like that,
That would be
but
fun.
Charlie, he owns the place. He goes wherever.
I'm in the
he
middle of
wants.
a hunt right now. That's one of the things that you see prevalent in Belgium and other like other countries, right? Is that every bar, every brewery has like their own cat. They didn't even
People
ask
are so
for one
allergic
sometimes.
to shit.
no, I got that lame allergy.
Yeah, I'm very allergic to cats too. I'm allergic to most things.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. What else are you allergic to?
Well,
let's have an
Let's have this fun
Next
game.
segment. What are you allergic
What
to?
could kill us at any moment?
developed an allergy to bees after walking through 2 bees' nests as a kid. So that was by the 24th sting, my body's like, nah,
Yeah,
nah, that's
wow.
pretty
That's
good.
too bad that it went the opposite
got-
way of getting a superpower.
Right.
I actually got stung by my first bee in my entire life about this time last year.
How'd it treat you?
Right before a show started, not knowing, because I'm allergic to so much stuff that I was like, if I'm allergic to bees, this could be bad. It was literally the show, like I made the announcement, show was about to start, I went to the bathroom, and there was a bee on me, it stung me in the bathroom, and I had to get the stinger out, and I was fine. I
Yeah.
didn't have any allergies.
Which is
but,
too bad.
Okay.
So-
right. Maybe
so
your
you-
second
So
Check
you-
one, Brandon, point one.
If you
I
had to use
literally-
an EpiPen, they'd be so amped up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If we need an EpiPen, I got one here. We are good to go.
Oh, we keep them in the back of my car just for fun. Just for a good time.
Yeah.
I do.
What's
I
your
should
allergy?
have one, but I don't care.
I keep a jar of bees in the back
You
of my
like
car too, just in case Steve fucks around one day.
I'm allergic to peanuts, so I can't do.
I got over my peanut allergy.
What?
That's the superpower.
That's what you have to
That's
get.
crazy.
That's what
Yeah,
I like to
These
hear.
days, you're no longer.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's just Steve's inferiority more than an actual
Yeah.
allergy.
Yeah.
You just
There's
didn't
no
want
such
to
thing as
deal
bee
with it.
allergies or peanut allergies.
Just in my head, yeah.
I strategically try to kill him all the time because I have like old almond butter jars that I use for cups at my house. I'm like, here, buddy, why don't you drink out of one of these?
Yeah, and I do, and it turns out that he bleaches them, and the bleach is still inside, and that's what hurts.
But this is
Yeah,
actually
we're
why
all a
Steve's,
little allergic to bleach.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
poison.
Yeah.
Steve's voice used to be a lot higher than this actually before we started doing
It's
this.
a perma closure of the
Yeah.
thread.
Yep.
Yeah, so no brewery cat,
No.
but one of you two has to go. Like, if it has to be one or the other, I think you need to go. I think the cat needs to be here.
Oh yeah. We have a
Just not
couple
this with the cat.
brewery dogs who are just terrifying to anyone who comes in here. So
They're so, like, they bark at everyone that comes in.
Is it just you guys with the blinds closed?
I
And then
wish
when
there
somebody
were
knocks on the
blinds,
door,
it'd
you
be
just
so
start
helpful.
barking violently?
Yeah.
So I don't really bring them very often.
if you shut the camera off, we'll start the
Yeah,
dogs will
yeah,
come out.
yeah. Oh my gosh, they're vicious.
Turns out they're dogs with bees in their mouth.
Kind of reminds me of that scene
That
from
was
Home
a-
Alone where he puts all the blinds down and then he's got the
Oh, the
mannequins just
tiny
kind of dancing
cutouts,
like.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you want a dog with bees in mouth story, that's something that happened recently to us.
Yeah, one of our dogs is obsessed with, like, chomping bees, and it stings his mouth, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Whoa.
After
Does his face like swell? Or
A tiny bit.
not too. I think it's
Like, his
mostly his
little, like,
tongue.
lips puff up a little.
And then he quits barking as much.
No, he just
No?
like he's so into it. He loves.
My girlfriend has the same bad habit. I try to get her to stop, but she just
Chomping
loves eating bees.
bees.
She just
Get excited about it.
just don't understand that that's not how you get honey. It's like there's
No.
a whole
No.
other
Oh, right.
process.
Well,
involved.
if you milk them enough, you will
Yeah.
get a little honey out of those.
That's
bees.
true.
Yeah.
Wasps,
Yeah.
yellow jackets, they've all got honey.
I'm pretty sure I saw that on a New York Times article.
That's
You
right.
squeeze a bee hard enough.
Oh, I see. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this taste is fun.
Remember this old CKY skate videos? You remember those? Did you ever watch
Yeah.
those?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there was one in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. There was one where they actually had frozen a bee and then they tied a little string to it and they kind of like had
Oh,
it
yeah, yeah.
flying around like a dog. It was pretty badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty wild place. Wild, I mean, by the
Longmont.
namesake. It's
I did
Longmont in general.
And then
Yeah.
we did notice one of the first things we noticed when we got here was the restaurant across the street called 2020 Eatery.
They also
Ionosphere.
closed this
They
year.
closed.
Man, that wasn't a bad sign.
Ooh.
That wasn't a bad
Yeah,
omen.
Yeah. They were before there was like a global reason for closures. They
Yeah.
just- yeah.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
were Dunskies.
Yeah, so you guys have a pretty psychedelic looking space here. I love the artwork. There's some very petroglyphy kind of images you
Yeah,
got on the
totally.
wall here. So how'd you guys get here and then what was the kind of the idea for the design?
Well, we worked at other breweries and still do, and wanted to start our own side project. And we knew that it had to be at least partially barrel aged, if not entirely. And we were sort of honing this, vision that we had for it, and then it got more and more drilled down into what we love: spontaneous beer. We love lambic and goose and all these Belgian examples. And we're like, why don't we just make just that? And so, like we said, terrible business model, but we're really excited about it.
But it's a side project also, which
Yes.
is like, yeah, absolutely.
This is a pretty intense side project.
It is. It was
Yeah,
meant to be just
absolutely.
like in our garage, and then every decision we made got bigger and bigger, and now we have this space.
Why don't they just do it?
One of the things about this style of beer, which again we can say ad nauseum, is a terrible decision. If you're out there thinking about making an all spontaneous brewery, we are happy to support you and give you any answers you'd like towards that end. But know full well it's a fool's errand.
Sure.
For this style of beer, it doesn't scale down easily. Whether it's the size of the cool ship for inoculation, the actual barrels for fermentation, as you get smaller and smaller and then fewer barrels, there are components of the biochemistry and on some level the physics of it all that just don't work as well. So once we decided, well, fuck it, if we're going to spend all of our external time outside of work, trying to make something that we're proud of,
Set it up for success.
we have to set it up for success. We can't really do it in the small scale that makes sense for some other kind of startup side projects.
Yeah, you can't just use a kiddie pool to get going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Was it tried? Was there an attempt made?
We built the kiddie pool, that's for sure.
This was our original cool ship. It's in the shape of a unicorn.
It's plastic.
A lot of children died in the making of the first few beers, but we
But they
probably
had a good time on
Yes.
the way out.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
To be fair, based on the design, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a kiddie pool, and if there was, like this is our summertime hang.
Yeah. Well, everyone always wants us to turn the cool ship into
To a hot tub.
just a hot tub when we're not using it in the season, and
It's got wood all around it, it looks like a spa.
we could bubble some CO2 through it until the asphyxiation occurs. It's going to be a rocking good time.
People make a killing in this state off of the hot springs. I think if you had an all-natural schwitz that you did in the tasting room,
I love it. Your spa. Yeah, there we go.
there's the
The
cat.
brewer cat,
Charlie.
trying to get out of the barrel.
It's actually, yeah, that's
Charlie's got a fur ball.
new fermentation technique. We're actually using live cats
Yeah.
in all the barrels. Just leave enough air at the top
Never
for
need
them to
pumps,
breathe.
you just need cats.
Well, I hate to just go ahead and get into it, but we would like to drink some beers to talk
Yes.
about.
And you guys should probably drink some faster than us. So that's usually how this portion of the show goes.
Hell
But
yeah.
you guys brought some, we got some cans, we got some bottles, and something we'll definitely get into is the fact that you guys use bags, boxes for your beer, because everything you guys do here is super out of the norm, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Opening noises.
yeah, that's what we want.
That's good.
This is the soundboard
This
we
is what
can't
the people
afford.
want.
Yeah. We just have to take sound bites from all of our old episodes and we'll make like a fun soundboard for
Yeah,
it.
that sounded great. Yeah.
That was good.
So
That's the
a clean
second
take.
best sound. Usually it's my voice, but that one might have beat it. So.
Can we just mix those two things
Yeah.
together?
Now, did you guys have an experience like going to Belgium or anything that kind of made you want to get more into this that you just fell in love with, or where did all that kind of start
Yeah,
from?
we went to Belgium a few times. We fell in love with lambic and goose and the culture around it and the hospitality of people there and just we couldn't get
I'd like to go there. I'm of Dutch descent, so I don't think they'd like me very much.
Actually, half of them do.
Half of them do.
Until you find out the other half's American, and then that's where it all went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Dutch American. They're not gonna be stoked.
Without spilling on your
Oh,
sound.
Remember, I was in France right after the last election, and everybody just kept looking at me like it was
Yes.
my fault.
Yeah.
Like everything, they're like, yeah, that you feel like an
Do you need
idiot
a
right
cheers sound for your
now.
sound?
It never hurts. It never absolutely hurts. Just like it smells fantastic.
Yeah.
Cheers. Ting ting.
Oh yeah.
Clink
Clink,
clink.
It's like a lot of the murder mystery or the true crime ones are also about like wine, and they always get that. We don't have that yet, so now that's what's keeping us from the big bucks.
Now, you're doing something that I've only seen happen at a college party. You're dumping an entire bag of not wine but beer into what looks like a bong slash decanter. So, can you tell us just really quick about why you guys use the bags? I know it's for the still, but just explaining to people like
Yeah.
why you guys are doing it the way you do it,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So we have bottle conditioned beer now, but when we first opened, which was April 2018, the beer was what we considered too young to put in bottles. So we had 9-month beer, and up till it was 2 years old, we weren't ready to bottle it. And so in Belgium, when you bottle young beer, it's lambic, and it's not supposed to carbonate in the bottle, which is great. It tastes amazing. We love lambic, but there's something to be said for popping a cork and not getting a sound.
Yeah.
And we were worried that people would think that we didn't know what we were doing or that it was a bad bottle, and though the beer would taste great, they would have a bad experience. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll follow this other Belgian tradition, which is putting beer in a bag, and like box wine, and then how could it be carbonated? So you kind of come into this expectation of this is an uncarbonated beer, it's going to taste how it's going to taste, you know.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the bubbles or lack
Yeah.
thereof. It's the younger spontaneous beer has a more cider-like, kind of like white winey component to it. Whereas when we get towards that more mature, blended, effervescent beer, which we serve out of bottles, that's going to be more like champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are you guys gonna start making like Capri Sun size?
We talked about
Yes.
it.
Yeah, that's something that is currently underway.
Because our standard bag box is 1.5 liters, but they make it 500.
Oh yeah.
They make like, I think they make a 375.
I think it might even make a 187, which is like a perfect little juice box. I mean, we're talking like five. You know, if you need 5 ounces of beer,
Really
right into the
quick.
bloodstream.
Ideal for lunches.
You'll
Yes.
catch me
Oh,
sneaking when concerts come back. You'll be seeing me sneak in with little
Oh,
little
yeah.
beers taped all over my chest.
Yeah,
and
then you're
little
gonna have
pouches.
different patches of wet all around your body. You're like, I don't know what happened. My tit exploded.
It's perspiration.
It's relatively easy to get into Red Rocks with like, you know, catheterized for the stadium buddy and then
Yeah.
with a bag attached to
Yeah.
your chest. And that's like the circle of life right there. If you can pee into a bag as well as chug from a bag.
At the same time, yep,
You've got it.
exactly.
I would put
yeah.
a bag in the bottom of my backpack and then just put a sweatshirt on top, and they'd look inside and it smells so good.
That's fair. I usually make Steve wear a bra. And we put all our drugs in.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just stash them in.
Do you have a punny name for that drug bra yet? Or patent pending?
A Bronco? No. Because I'm trying to think of like
Bronco?
the Bronco. I was trying to think of something like a mule or
Yeah,
something.
okay.
The pack mule.
I like where this is going.
Yeah.
The pack ass.
That's for your butt plug. That we
Yes,
use-
yes, pack.
Part of the same family.
Yeah.
And it's within the same company.
Which is actually just an empty pill bottle.
Yeah.
That we-
That you lubricate and you just slide right up there. It's not going to be a big deal.
We'll come up with a good name by the end of the show, for sure. But otherwise, I like the butt Bronco.
The butt Bronco.
Yeah, we can always
Yeah,
table
Bronco.
it and bring it back, and you know,
Yeah.
whatever starts to simmer.
Yeah, people pay a lot of money for marketing sessions just like this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we can come up with a lot of good
It's hilarious. It's fun.
But I think we're onto something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so this is what are you chugging? How you chugging?
So
it?
what I would like to do.
Give us an offer. We
This
can
is like
review.
this is like the mid-distance runner of chugging. So it's not going to be the most volume, but it's certainly more than a sprint.
But it's gonna look like it's looking majestic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm going to try and do is chug this whole thing. Basically through the air. It's
No,
aerating
it's
as like a.
Corona.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you introduced it. That's my bad.
No, I talked about bag box.
Yeah, so a Perón is actually a drinking vessel from some Spanish regions, specifically the regions of Spain and Portugal that the Basque have settled in. And the whole idea is used for red wine as well as their ciders that all have a little more volatile acidity or kind of an acetic acid, a vinegar-like note to it. And And the whole idea of putting it through a Perone is as it is going through the air, that thin stream is aerated, and it basically softens the beverage on the way.
Okay, cool.
In reality, for
You're
us,
supposed
it's
to
just
pour
a
it
fun
into
bit
a
of fun.
cup
Yeah.
and then drink it, but we like to pour it into
Well,
a
we're
face.
not.
Some people pour it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
exactly.
I just imagine like the hole was just for the air to get in.
Yeah.
The
And
other
also,
idea
like,
is that you could share a whole bottle and everyone could drink out of the same thing
No
without touching
glasses
their
needed.
mouths to
That's
it.
nice.
So it's
Right.
perfect for pandemic times.
Right. So I'm gonna go for the attempt of just finishing the sucker.
You gonna drink the whole thing?
I'm gonna try to drink the whole thing. Go for some circular breathing and see where we go from there.
what's
But,
the percentage? What's the ABV?
no,
of
this
it?
little guy probably about 5.
Okay.
So nothing too.
So no
nothing too
time,
yeah.
extra time.
But I'm giving. There's a lot of quality presentation here that
There
I'm
is.
gonna
I mean,
factor
time
into
it
the
and then
final.
see if anyone can,
Right.
beat it if
I
they
think
have
Yeah,
to.
this would be a new leaderboard, really. This
Yeah.
is totally starting a new vessel.
And if we are starting this new vessel, I think the only way to really beat it in the future is taking off the restrictor plate, doing a wider nozzle.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be limited on some level with how much can come through the stream.
Yeah, let's put
but-
some NOS on that.
Yeah,
bad boy.
exactly. Look,
Let's Vin Diesel this fucking
Yeah,
thing.
push it out faster.
I've always
Actually,
said
it'd be better if you put your mouth on one end and then you blew into the other end.
yeah. So the other side is if anyone's using a Perone at home, you should not be putting your mouth on the actual, it should be through the air. We've had some people, when we're actually open, the Perone is an option for getting our beers served in. We have
Yeah.
5 or 6. And the first thing we try and tell people is you should not be sucking on it like the teat.
Well,
Yeah.
some people do that with the bag-in-box too. They
Weird.
hold it up and they don't let it flow. They just put their mouth on it and ooh.
You guys are
Oh, I
pros.
mean,
You guys
that
are
was-
pros. You guys
Yeah.
know all the best ways to chug bag wine. And
Yeah.
I mean, college, I definitely always put my mouth on it when you play
Oh,
slap the
a
bag.
beer-
You're an animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say a beer bong, definitely put your mouth on. That's supposed to go right
Yeah.
on in there. Franzia, I'd still, you want to get a little
I
distance.
like that. I like the showmanship of the pour.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like when
Especially
you go
when
to a
it's red.
restaurant and they pour the water just real high.
Oh yeah,
Just get that lift.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well,
Giant
however, so
grinder.
just tell us what you're drinking.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to
And
discuss
then-
what we're drinking?
That one is Petite Bon Vivant, which is our series of single barrel releases. This was P22, which is one of our puncheons. That's it. We
Sounds like
really
a
like
science
it.
project.
It's like
Yeah,
a
baby.
18-month spontaneous beer.
Yeah, it's rare that a single barrel tastes good enough to basically drink on its own. So by putting that beer in this box, it's the equivalent of us just being able to serve it right out of that barrel.
Fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So did you have a joke prepared also for today?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay, great.
Well, she's
So
got a better one. Mine are both kind of long,
We'll be
drawn out, and sad.
we'll be the judge
We'll
of
be
that.
that.
Yeah.
So after you're done chugging, tell us your joke
Cool. All right.
whenever you're ready to rock. Oh man, this is Purple Mountain's Majesty right here. I feel like I looked at things like this in chemistry class in high school. I was like, I bet I can smoke
I
out
bet
of
I could
that,
drink out of that.
or
It's
drink
not
out of
bad.
that. That's fun. Have you ever tried to use one as a bong?
No, we should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that
But he's
on a
also like a trumpet player, how they breathe in
Yeah,
and blow
I'm
at
trying
the
to think
same
of, like-
time. I can't do it.
This is like a fountain
Yeah.
kind of thing
The
where,
big kids at recess. They're
because
like,
he's actually kind of
breathing.
motionless as well, I feel like he could just be a statue in a park.
Just
also, like,
opens
he's like a
his throat.
fish in a
Nice. He's just hanging loose. This
Yeah.
is nice.
This isn't even a big deal.
And
Yeah,
he's
but this is-
Did you
still,
sign some autographs?
he's
I
still
kinda-
highly on track to beat some of the times.
Yeah, I kind of feel this. I'm getting the same soothing feeling that like a librarian reading a book to you, just because that stream was so
it's like
steady,
they're just
and he just
in
seems
it.
so calm. Man, I just can't wait. I'm gonna watch this video on my own personal
Uh-huh.
time, just
This is a
just
lot
to
of
lull me
volume.
to sleep at night.
We should have measured what
What's
volume
impressive at this point is the ability to breathe
Yeah,
while doing this.
I don't understand.
must be a whiz for you, huh? That's. I mean,
I don't understand.
but we've had other people that like they can't even get through a 16-ounce pour like without like 4 ounces in and they're donezo. Oh, they got some cat noises coming from the inside.
Goodness.
We're on the home stretch. Also,
It's
not a lot of
really-
throat
it's-
action. I mean, it's fairly minimal.
No, it's owl throat action. That's the thing.
Oh, you
is
think?
it seems
Yeah. It looks kind of motionless.
there's little tongue being used.
Well,
No
poor
teeth.
Poor Lisa.
No teeth. No teeth on the plus side.
No teeth, not a lot of
Oh my
tongue.
God.
A lot of throat. This really is the most
He's
impressive
athletic.
thing I've seen in a while. And
Yay!
Woo, that was way more volume than I
You could have
expected.
done that.
I think I've always been preparing for that, but I've never really.
Oh my God.
And
Congratulations.
clean dismount. That is.
You didn't spill it all over.
And then one big
Oh,
burp
yeah.
too. One big one.
Oh, and I felt that building the entire time. I'm like,
Some people get coy and they try to hold it back. I'm like, no. If you got to fart too, just put your butt right
oh
up
yeah,
to
it's
the microphone.
both ends one time. Let's go. That's why you've got multiple mics.
Yeah, you said these benches are unstable.
Oh dear Lord.
And you blasting off into the barrels.
Here we go.
All right, what do you got for a joke?
Okay. Ooh, this is gonna be a good one.
Maybe.
That's what I always say before every joke.
Yeah, guys, you are going to fucking love this. So there's a guy, Bud. He is at Game 7 of the World Series. He scored nosebleed tickets, excited to be there, but really can't see anything. He notices right behind home plate an empty seat, and he says, all right, if a couple innings go by and no one is sitting there, I'm gonna sneak down, I'm gonna make it, it's gonna be great. Lo and behold, a couple innings go by, he walks, he kind of skirts by the security and asks the person sitting next to the empty seat, hey, do you know who owns this seat? The man says, yeah, actually, I own it. It was my wife's. Sadly, she's passed. Would you like to sit down? Says, yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Sits down, goes by another couple innings. It's an exciting game. He just can't resist asking, I understand that your wife died, but you don't have any siblings, any children, any other family or friends that you would love to share this game with? I mean, it's the World Series. Says, they're all at the funeral.
Yeah, I love that. Joking about death is probably my favorite thing to joke about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it makes some people uncomfortable, but it's really it's a good time.
Oh, it's a great time.
Yeah, there's plenty of funerals I'd totally skip to go to Game 7.
Oh, most, unless they're gonna have a good spread at that funeral, and that's how I judge a person's life, is basically the food that is served to everyone else at their death.
Yeah.
Like that's
You
that
got
season.
this catered by Famous Dave's Barbecue?
Yeah. Oh,
Really?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you can't skip. I mean, weddings, funerals at this point,
It's all
like,
about the food.
they're not going to know I was there anyway.
Is it possible to deliver a joke that I've had the opportunity to give live that has never once worked?
You sure you don't want to end on a high note?
No, I'm positive.
A good rule of comedy is if you're at your time and you get a big laugh,
Maybe
you're like, all right,
stop.
well, sometimes you go for broke.
But a
and
good
see
rule of
how it goes.
sadomasochism is like get a little bit more pain at the very end.
We want it, yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So, a whale swims up to a bar. The barkeep asks, what can I get you? The whale responds, and the longer you can deliver whale noises, I've noticed the better the joke gets.
That's
I like that you locked eyes with me the whole time. I
I
felt
thought-
a little erotic. I'm good
I
with
think
it.
most whale noises are. So
I
you're
also,
right.
I
I'm not
feel
going to
like
be
that
able
was,
to stand up for a few minutes.
I don't want to be like too picky, but I would say that was more of a
porpoise?
dolphin.
Yeah,
you need to work on your whale sound.
that is also what the crowd has told me. I assume that's what they mean when they don't laugh, is that it was a great joke, but your sea animal kind of expertise is just not there.
Oh no. You could say you were a manatee and people would be like, no, that's still.
That's not a manatee. Yeah, get out of here.
People giving you critiques is the comedy equivalent to when you tell a joke and it bombs, and then somebody says, "Well, that was funny."
Or
Yeah.
this
That's
is
usually not
awkward.
the
Yeah.
real guttural reaction
Thank
that
you for
we're,
sharing with us.
that we're hoping for.
I've got a tag for you. What if the whale humped the stool right after?
Classic stand-up
Classic
Punch it up.
stand-up
Humping
comedy.
I didn't get
stool.
slapstick enough. That was.
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
more prop work.
It's more of a
Yeah,
physical
exactly.
joke.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, good
You
way,
just start flopping around.
good way to really make it to the top is start humping stools,
Totally.
making whale noises.
That's a good way to end any show. Or start a show.
That's how rotating tap started. I can't even say. I was trying to tell myself stop before I said it, but then I said rotating stap instead.
You did say you smoked some pretty bunk weed today. That's gonna
Oh.
be
It's
feeling.
not. No, it's not that
And
it's.
you're not sharing?
It's not bunk weed.
I don't think you
it's,
want it. It doesn't sound like it's great.
It's not good weed. It's a weird weed that makes me like nauseous and
Why do you
very
have it?
tired.
That sounds
Because
like
the
cat-
girl
Get rid of
was
it.
like, this
Because
shit's
he knows the
bomb.
value of $1, and he's not willing to let a
It makes
gram
me
go to
sick,
waste.
but I will smoke it
well.
till it's gone.
Yeah, I have a problem. It's great.
It makes the demons go away. I hear you.
You
It's,
said it wasn't helping your brain work at top efficiency, so I'm just trying to.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
And I don't feel good.
Rotating step. Yeah.
But
Rotating
because you
step.
guys, I mean, based on like you said, the artwork and stuff you got in here, it sounds like you like to do some drugs and smoke some weed. Is that part of the creative process?
our list of beer names is mostly things we've thought of when we smoke.
Well, and also chosen only when we. Yes.
We have a list of
Like P22.
well, Petite Bon Vivant kind of rhymes, so it just made us giggle one time. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and I don't know.
We must have 2,000 names on this list at this point.
So we have put it into an
have you guys
Excel
looked at the
spreadsheet.
moon?
It is thousands.
Looked at the moon?
I'm saying, is something like, have you guys looked at the moon?
Sure,
on the
something like
list?
that would definitely be on the list.
There's
Just like-
if you have we're happy to put this list over to you, and you can scroll through it, see if there's anything that really really gets your goat.
Oh, you must have handed us the wrong list. These all look like high school kids.
I thought they were younger than that.
Jazz begets jazz.
Sure.
Yeah.
Corporate overlord.
Weird water, fickle people, solid plans, which sounds like maybe you don't have as solid as you thought you would be after you smoke some weed. Really.
Yeah.
Tactile delight.
So the way that this list goes is pretty much if we were coming up with shitty band names. We don't know where the initial ideas came from.
Yeah.
So if we have to name a beer and then we smoke a bunch of weed, if we still find the idea funny, then it works. We don't want it to be an inside joke. It's not like we're naming things where only if you're like you've seen the movie or you've done a couple things.
Most of the things on there we don't really.
We have no idea what they are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. If we're like, it still makes us giggle. That kind of works.
It's a very like improv troupe move, though. To be honest, it's like, what are we gonna name our improv troupe? And then everybody has like 50 suggestions.
Yeah. To be fair, we love watching improv.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is there any improv in Longmont? Do you go to Denver to watch?
Sorry, I should say we like watching Middleditch and Schwartz on
Okay,
Netflix quite a bit, and
And
then
we've seen them live.
we've seen them live a couple
Yeah.
times.
That was
Yeah.
the
We should
one
go to
example that
Yeah.
everybody's like, improv can be great. I'm like,
Improv.
let's not go.
Yeah.
That's an exception.
To be fair, I've seen terrible fucking improv as
Yeah,
well, and I
absolutely.
understand when it goes wrong, which is most of the time.
Yes.
It's just uncomfortable, and like you almost want to like clap so it ends.
Yeah. That's a good way to
Do you
get
do
it in.
improv?
I did it for a long time.
Did you like it? I mean,
I lucked out that there's a improv theater in Denver, and the other thing about improv is it costs a lot to be really involved in the improv community. You have to pay a lot of dues,
Yeah, I've
It's
heard of
almost like
that.
a pyramid.
which is or a scam, or
It's a triangle. It's a three-dimensional triangle scheme.
A
Don't
cult,
worry about
yeah.
that.
Ignore the shapes. They could be. It's a series of lines that could be sorted in any which way, shape, or
there's a
form.
fourth dimension that you can't see as an upside down pyramid connecting to the tip of the pyramid.
Time, the final dimension.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's bad. I lucked out, and I was added to a very talented group of individuals, and we did a couple festivals throughout the country and stuff.
Super cool.
It was fun, and we didn't have to pay much to do it.
That's awesome.
Like, if you take an improv class, depending on who's teaching it, it's at least $150 for like 3 hours.
My sister took some of the lower level like Upright Citizen Brigade improv classes in the city,
I
and
usually liked it.
she loved it. But she could tell there was also kind of this social hierarchy, and
Yeah.
like it was hard to break into it, even if you had good ideas, unless you've not only maybe paid financial dues, but also to some degree.
Time dues.
Yeah.
Where did
Sounds
she
like
do
Scientology.
UCB?
In Manhattan.
Sounds like
Yeah.
Scientology.
Yes, so that's closed now.
Okay. Since the accident.
Since improv
You know the
started
one.
there, the
Yeah.
show. No, so UCB they lost a lot of money because Amy Poehler was one of the owners,
Yeah.
and she was like, "We're closing." This was the beginning of the pandemic,
Oh.
but there is that like the weird cult and the hierarchy in improv is very weird, very real. But it isn't stand up too, and I think it's a little bit in the beer industry as well.
Certainly in the beer industry.
Yeah, so
Yeah, there's some people you guys are probably like, they suck. I don't want to hang out with them.
Yeah. We won't deny that, but at the same time,
I think most people are pretty cool. Beer industry.
most people are really
Most
cool.
of them, but there are,
Yeah, but there's
Like
not. I don't
anything.
think it doesn't exist in the same way that the more you pay into it, the higher up you move in the system.
There's-
in your industry.
Yeah, I'd say it's almost in some ways in that same way of high school and this whole idea of meritocracy and having to, give certain brewers their due and like, I don't know. So there are definitely groups where you can see the connection between who they're hanging out with or who they're allowing to collab with and that type of thing based off of if you've worked at a couple certain breweries, if you've risen through the ranks at an assistant brewership at this place, etc. If you've gone to the same, Siebel Brewing Institute or CU Davis, that kind of thing. There's certainly a kind of clickiness.
Yeah.
Have you guys
absolutely.
ever been bummed out? They're like, how come they haven't asked us to do a collab?
Yeah. Why haven't we got accepted to do this beer festival?
How come Burial doesn't think we're cool?
Collaborations, no, but wearing the heart on the sleeve, there are certainly times where there's like a panel on like coolship inoculation or
At,
a
like,
spontaneous beer
conference or
production,
something.
and they get a couple people who I still respect the fuck out of, think are great brewers, but may have only performed a single kind of like coolship inoculation, and all of a sudden they are being asked to be an expert on that panel.
So Blue Moon, we heard you came out with the Flanders Red once.
Let's get you in here, baby. Yeah, but that is like everything we're saying. In so many industries, it's who you know,
Right.
or you know, if
You
you've
just
been
didn't
willing.
know the moderator probably.
And we're also not willing to put in the time to make. I hate fake networking.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
I love meeting people, and I love legitimately talking about ideas and getting creative and having that kind of source of inspiration from other people. But I've never enjoyed, and certainly to not to my advantage, I've never enjoyed just the purpose of trying to meet people and trying to make conversation just for the sake of networking.
You'd rather pass the joint around.
Oh my God, every time.
Slap the
Yeah.
Pass the bag, pass the
Yeah.
joint.
So
talk
many
about
more
space.
yes,
Let's
exactly.
do.
That's exactly.
It's always weird, like, especially like when you like break into it, and it, like, because a lot of I talk almost every episode about how comedy and beer are like so similar, and they're identical industries almost in every single aspect, minus like you make beer and we make jokes, you know.
Yeah.
But-
Hopefully both make people happy. That's
Yeah, absolutely. But then there's like when somebody starts off and you're hanging out and you're smoking a joint, you're slapping the bag, you're all having a good time, and then the new person's just like, so how do I get booked? like put me on your show, please.
Yeah.
It's
Do you
like
want to do a collab?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
make sure to never ask other people if they want to do a collab. If we're in if we're at someone else's territory and they're like, hey, we should put something together, then we'll allow that discussion to progress slowly. That said, we've been open 2.5 years and we just kind of released our first collab.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
We didn't have a lot to offer at the beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
we just started doing our thing.
They're like, well, in about 2 or 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta, we
Yeah.
can totally
We
make
started
something
it.
happen with
We
you
did
guys.
a brew day when was that, last fall? This time last year, we did a brew day at Kane, and that beer we were gonna do another one this year, we'll see. But basically, everyone was like, when will that be ready? We're like, I don't know, like 3.5 years.
Mark your calendar.
Right,
Don't
exactly. Geologic blink of an
We'll
eye.
stay
but-
on it.
And to be fair, we're also, we're probably intimidating to ask for a collab as well, since we don't really, I don't
Not
know.
ever.
Yeah, you guys seem like real hard asses.
We are.
Yeah.
Pieces of shit.
Thank you. Those are the terms I was going to use. Mostly
That's the
pieces of
image
shit.
we're trying to put out.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm honest, it's
scary.
working.
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
very defensive,
Scary.
aggressive, not easy to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
we're
you guys
looking-
ever tried improv or stand up yourselves?
No.
Okay.
I've always loved the idea and teetered with it, but I also know that I don't take criticism well, as we'll get to when we talk about
But I wanna-
beer reviews.
Yeah, this
Well,
beer
I want to
stinks.
know, how did you try, if you've never tried stand-up, how did you get such negative responses to your whale joke?
You're asking the
Family,
hard,
Thanksgiving,
I'm
Christmas
asking
parties.
a hard-hitting question.
He's got a little
It's a mirror.
brick wall background. He stands in front of it at family events.
This will be at least the first strike against me, and it will be much. You're gonna hate me by the end of this podcast,
Great.
one way or another.
Good.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah,
It says I didn't hate you before the podcast.
If you didn't already
Read
have
the
an idea of
reviews.
why you should hate me, this is only gonna build it
We
up.
both walked in here with a bad attitude.
Yeah. I did high school, college, and some grad school a cappella.
Okay.
So sometimes in the beginning of an a cappella show, you'd have to break the ice one way or another, and
I might ask you to read a bad review later in
Yeah.
acapella. That's pretty sick though. So you have a performance background.
Yeah,
You like to be
I do.
the center, not the center of attention, but you like to put on a show.
If
You're
anything,
not against putting on a show.
I'd rather harmonize and be in the background and help someone else be the center of attention.
You want to be a hype man for my comedy?
Yeah, let's go, baby. Let's go.
So I'll teach you my set, and every time I
Go,
at like the
Oh,
last
shit.
word, my punchline,
Yeah.
you just say the word with me.
Oh, with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. This is a.
With me,
Oh.
with me,
With-
with me.
With
Wait, close.
Say
Okay,
it with
we have
me.
some work to
What's
do.
one
yeah,
of
we
your
got some
shorter
work to do.
jokes? What's one of your shorter jokes?
Anyways, let's not go into my material. Brandon, you finished at a time of 1 minute and 46 seconds.
Which is not.
The slowest.
Really?
You still beat out
That is-
Keel from 10 Barrel, who was just drinking like a pint of, I think it was a pale ale.
Yeah, maybe
He
a
couldn't-
Pilsner or something
It was
light.
something
It was
like.
something pretty light.
Making a meal of it.
Yeah, he couldn't chug. He really had a hard time. And
Great
so,
chicken sandwich, though.
Oh.
Fantastic.
Oh, I had the bison burger. Very good.
Either way, fantastic food, not great chicken. Put that up in Google reviews. And then Lisa, what do you got prepared for us
I was
today?
just gonna slap the bag and have a little sip.
Yeah.
I'm not really a big chugger.
That's fine. Well, we're not
That's
going to ask you
cool.
to clear the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an adult. You can make
I
your
don't
own
know how much
decisions
is
if
in
you
here
want to.
either. So I don't really need to be timed. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
She's not
You
for
don't
the
need
sake
to,
of
but we're
killing
gonna.
it.
We're
How
gonna do
about we do? Can you do? What's a good time frame for you to?
I was
for one
literally
pull?
just gonna like have some.
Yeah, well, yeah, just have some. We'll time it too.
We
Just
have
fair.
some. How about we go for a 5-second just for the camera? We just
I
go for a
mean,
5-second
sure.
pull.
Yeah.
Does that
You gotta
seem
do
fair?
it, baby.
I'll try. I'm just gonna.
And if you need the assist, you just slap it, toss it over.
The
and,
problem is it's in the box.
Do you want me to get that? Do you want me to get that bag out?
This is how a power couple works.
I do think
Honey,
it is
do you need me to
appropriate.
get this bag out of the box for you so you can chug it?
Cardboard is so strong.
It's not called slap the box.
No, it just didn't feel right.
If it wasn't COVID times, I would
There we
suggest
go.
potentially doing a waterfall where we pass it around the
Right.
table. But
If you don't put your mouth to it, we can.
if you open your mouth to it, I'm down.
I said if you don't
Look at
put
it.
your mouth on it. All right, ready?
COVID friendly. Let's go.
All right, whenever you're ready. That's good. Lucky you, man. Oh no!
Too much.
You were trying to count to 5, and
Yeah,
you're like,
vigorously.
yeah.
It was pouring out.
I thought you did a good job.
Valiant effort. Valiant effort. I'm gonna go ahead.
That was 4.5. We'll give that to you.
Round it up. That's
We'll go
5.
with 4.5.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't.
proud. I feel good about it.
Thank you.
We all feel great
I feel
about
like you
this.
needed the positive reinforcement there.
The smaller bags come on a lot slower.
Yeah, there is that. But
There's just more power
oh yeah,
behind it.
hydrostatic. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
And do you have a joke for us?
Oh yeah, my joke is quick and simple. Did you hear about the kidnapping?
No.
He woke up.
Ah, that's good.
That's
Good. Quick.
It's a real
That's
thinker
it.
too.
Really makes you.
Hours later, you're gonna. I'm glad he woke up.
That's
I mean,
like
that's-
my least favorite thing about Amber Alerts is when it wakes the kid up.
the darker version of it. And it works.
Uncomfortable. We like laughs and groans equally.
Yes.
We're not.
Yes.
We're not against either one of those.
You got to explore the palate.
Very cool.
So we've been sipping on something here.
Yes.
Would you care to explain? It's very good.
Yeah, this is delightful. I was just
Oh,
walking
I
around earlier.
appreciate
I'm like,
that.
this
And
beer
the fact
stinks.
that again, if we serve you something you don't like, by all means,
Oh,
you
yeah,
should
you
spit it in our
I
face.
You're
will
supposed to
let
pour
you
it
know.
directly out of the
Yeah.
basket, yeah?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you got it, baby.
So interesting.
So
Yes.
this is Festive Wave. We are putting this out. It's pretty much empty. Yeah.
I'll just have the beer farts later.
There you go.
No big deal. Here, give me
Um,
all the yeast.
yeah.
It's actually, it's like somebody saving the fat for somebody on a steak. Like, if you could just give me the bottom, that
I'll
would be
just take that last
fantastic.
little bit
I
there.
love the fat.
Yeah.
And I know I shouldn't.
Yeast
Somebody-
and fat.
Yeah.
Give me all the scraps.
Yeah.
I was talking to this lady yesterday at work, and she was telling me about how good,
About
how,
steak
like,
fat.
we're learning how fat that's like good for you because your brain is made out of fat,
Hmm.
and so you're supposed to actually like eat fat and stuff. So
She was not a doctor. She was just a random woman who came up to you on the
yeah,
side.
well, she was very convincing. She also told me how to vote, and I'm going to follow her.
There you go.
She followed up the statement with Obama is a lizard. And
No.
the king.
I wouldn't say the king lizards, but yeah. So he is a lizard, and we all know that. He lives under DIA.
Yeah.
With the rest of the
With those
lizards.
gargoyles and
He
the
rides on
baggage
top of the
terminal?
train. Yeah.
Oh, so
When you
good.
hear the pitter patter at night, when it's the last.
how do you think they build the subway tunnels? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
the lizard folks digging them underneath the airport.
They can see in the dark. It helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about all the things that I think would be useful. Building an intolerance to peanuts, being able to dig holes underground. I mean, I can dig a hole, but it's going to take me a minute.
I mean, if you buy a house, don't you own all the land, like to the core of the earth?
Yeah, I think that's the Ronald McDonald method, right? Isn't that what
The
that guy did?
vertical integration.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, we own everything down, we own everything up.
Yeah. To the center of the
Yeah, so what, before I
So
cut
we
it off.
we're going to put this beer out next month or November. We haven't decided. It is a blend of several barrels. It's 2-year aged spontaneous beer with no fruit added, and it's been bottle conditioning for about a year.
Yeah, so I guess we can say, since we probably haven't, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty especially, but we are lame in that we only make a single recipe
No,
of beer.
it's exciting.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Grip me. Give me all the deep. Give me the dirt.
So we follow, in the same way that Champagne has a geographic appellation, and you can make champagne either in that area of France, or you can take the exact same technique, the same varietals of grapes, even source them from France, but if you make them anywhere else, you can no longer call it champagne. We are following a similar kind of method to make what would be lambic, or then its champanized older version goose, but we are outside of what is the Pajottenland or the Seine River Valley of Belgium.
So basically Brussels and the surrounding area, that's where you can make lambic and goose. Everywhere else you have to call it.
Something else.
Method traditional.
Also a potential band name, Champagnize.
Champagnize.
That's good.
Champanized wolves.
Actually,
yeah.
once again, probably
Oh, yeah.
better for an improv
Put
team.
it on the list.
Yeah, it was so bubbly and out there. It's gonna be awesome,
So
man.
bubbly, but also wild.
Yeah, so wild.
It's an entire monster made of delicious bubbles.
I love it.
I think there's some good imagery to this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the method. So it's method traditional.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Here,
That's
right?
exactly
Which is
right.
the lamest fucking name
It's
that you could have
not
given
ideal.
a process. Because lambic sounds
It's
so
clean,
whimsical,
it's perfect.
folksy.
Yeah.
It's got some
It's
mystical aspects to
Flemish,
it.
Yeah.
which you can, as the Dutch, you guys can get along with that.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
Method traditional is lame as fuck.
So what happened is.
I'll say it if you don't want to.
No.
No,
we're-
she- I was gonna say
we're-
she's-
I would love to call it lambic, but I can't.
Well, can
So-
you
Hands
call
are
it something
We
else?
talked about,
Just
like,
come up with a
coming
name.
up
You
with
guys
a
are fun
term
with
for
coming up
it.
with names.
We talked about calling it Longbic or Colorado.
Honestly,
something.
we kind of just call it primitive beer, as what, since we only make one style of beer, what we've tried to kind of throw between the lines is we're releasing a primitive beer that is aged on fruit, aged on something. So we're using primitive beer as basically that descriptor.
Yeah.
If you know,
Not just like a brand, but also
exactly.
That's the style.
We are
Style,
primitive beer,
yeah.
but also it would be like if there was a lambic brewery called Lambic.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah,
board
yeah.
with that. I'll
We're
support
trying.
that decision.
it's like Zuba's pants.
which are also timeless.
What's that?
Are they fantastic?
Zuba's pants?
Oh, you guys know what Zumas are?
No.
I'll look it up. So that's
Yeah, they were like the
Steve,
like
wax poetic.
The old time,
they
baby.
were like those weird like almost pajama pants with like the crazy bright prints with like
Oh.
crazy zebra stripes and stuff like the
Like
They've been
scrubs?
mostly popularized by the Buffalo Bills, if I will say. I mean, I know other places had them, but they were up.
I feel like Fresh Prince. I feel like
Oh,
Fresh
I know
Prince
it's
was a-
yes.
Oh.
Okay, I've seen Will Smith rock
So
those.
they're
Oh,
like
sure.
these,
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
wavy
Oh,
and
hell
kind of
yeah.
zebra looking.
What are those called?
Zubas. So they're the brand and also the style.
Got it.
Ah, perfect.
Got it.
So you know immediately.
Yeah.
Like, so you might
Crocs.
have.
Crocs.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
You, I don't want to say you guys are the Crocs.
Oh, you've never.
I will not say that.
I appreciate that you don't.
That's a glowing review.
No, it's
Please
actually
tell
pretty
us.
accurate because if you don't understand them, you just don't get it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Get it, get it.
You know how fucking comfy and good looking these
We
are.
are the Crocs of craft beer.
Yeah.
It's a kiosk at the malls.
You
So
know
for
it.
the people that
Maybe
do
you're
it,
getting
they
into
love
it.
If you get it, you get it.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, you mean you don't just drill holes into all of your shoes so you make your own fitted Crocs?
Just in case it rains.
Just make them yours. Yeah, it's just your, it's just your
See
style.
if drainage.
Before it was called method traditional, which you're right is lame as all hell, and also kind of meaningless since there is a traditional method or a method traditional for cheese. That's what they call basically champagne made outside of the Champagne region.
It's sort of a general catch-all of you followed rules from somewhere else and
Right.
made it where you live.
So
It's-
we are
it sounds
the-
like missionary sex.
It-
If I'm gonna be honest,
It's
how do you guys
just
usually do
sort
it? The traditional
The
method.
regular.
eyes closed, face real, just like this, and then we are getting through it.
Through the sheets.
Through a sheet. Yeah.
Yeah, as we've been told, all Jews do. So yeah, it's,
Yeah, Mormons too. So
Oh,
apparently
perfect.
we're
good. I like that stereotypes are meaningless for every group.
yeah, apparently people that just don't like to have sex that much just fuck their sheets.
Yeah,
Whether you're
yeah,
religious or not.
Just
Apparently.
But people that like to have sex a lot do it through walls.
Yeah.
True.
So that's
They can't get enough of it. They'll just
Yeah.
think they're taking anything.
so it's great to know that you are a Mormon who is drinking, and
Yes.
we are Jews on Yom Kippur who are also drinking.
We're
Oh, happy Yom Kippur.
not.
L'chaim, baby.
We're not supposed to be
Yeah.
drinking.
So we are all clearly devout. You know.
Yeah, I was never really on board with the train, to be completely honest. But
You
when
can
you're
be
a kid,
honest here.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, I mean, you don't really have much of a
No,
choice.
your
right?
parents are telling you some
Yeah.
crazy stories.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
drinking beer on a Monday during the day now. I was doing drugs in the desert over the
Yeah.
weekends. Just living. I'm just feeling my
Don't you
own
have
spiritual self,
Yeah.
wherever it happens to be. From
Getting after it.
Moab to
I like
Longmont.
that.
Yeah.
From Moab to
Oh.
Longmont.
Is that going to be your
That should be a-
biography or your memoir?
That should be
That's
a
the
beer name.
tagline.
I'll put it on the list.
Sure. We have
That is
little
basically.
connection about
What does it
Wow.
mean? Nobody knows, but
Nobody
it's
knows.
provocative.
I'll put that on. We can do a blending collab at some point, and that is
Yeah.
with some
We'll do one.
mushrooms.
That sounds great. Yeah, I was gonna say we're either gonna have to put some psilocybin in us or the barrel.
We gotta put it in the
Both.
barrel, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be rotating tab presents from Moab to Longmont.
Yeah. Take a little bit, see how it hits, and then if after an hour you're not feeling anything, take another glass.
Face
And go
melter
from there.
lambic.
That's something True would come up with, like the face melter.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is fun.
And we do love those people.
Such a good time. Speaking of road trips, you guys were in New York and then came back, right? You guys were gone
Yeah.
for a couple weeks.
We were, yeah. On the way back, we stopped at Strange Roots in Pittsburgh, which is a cool brewery, and they do some cool ship spontaneous beer too. And then we went to Speciation in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they do lots of cool ship and wild and natural wines, and it was really cool.
Awesome.
Very
That's
cool
really good.
experience.
Do you guys have that kind of? It's a very niche camaraderie with some of
Mhm.
these places.
Mhm.
It's almost to me. I'm just getting this idea of just like a
It's a small community.
regionalized unicycling
Sure,
communities.
sure,
Where
yeah,
you're just like,
yeah.
yeah, we really love
You know
unicycling.
so and so that popularized that technique?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, we're good friends with him.
Yeah, I think when you're willing to actually be passionate about something and try and make that your expertise to some degree, I think in any industry or any hobby, the world becomes that much smaller, and people that you might not have had an introduction to before or any form of connectivity, all of a sudden they put their defenses down and are able to be a little more engaged, because there's just that point of like humanity where you're like, okay, yeah, we like something together that no one else likes. That's weird.
We're
Let's.
all in this
yeah.
together.
Comedy is very much the same, and I do find that with once you start hanging out with comics, it's really hard to hang out with
None.
Quote unquote normal people.
Yeah.
yeah, muggles, if you will. Do you guys find that you see the same thing where you're like, I don't really want to hang out with anybody that's not doing lambic stuff, bro? What do you make an amber ale? Basic bitches.
Yeah, I mean, no, but those are the breweries that I get more excited to go to. If they're like, oh, we did this really weird project, we blended this with mead, we did this thing with like apples, we put whole apples in a barrel, like all these crazy projects, you're like, okay, I like that.
I can fuck
But I
with you
still
guys.
love going to breweries that don't do that, people that like to make, traditional things that are really excited about that. That's also cool.
Yeah.
But it gets me more excited to go to a place that they're like, we're making this super weird beer. Do you
Yeah.
want to try it?
Well, let me tell you one thing, and then I want to answer that as well.
Mhm.
When I first tried to put From Moab to Longmont as one of the beer names, and I'm going to keep the new one that I put on, I put From Moab to Mushrooms. Because clearly,
I like
just,
it.
Mushrooms.
yeah, kind of like a lot of emojis.
I think that's fun.
I agree completely in terms of I'm at this point, pretty jaded from a beer standpoint. There are certain styles that I really get excited for and that I want to drink. Certain breweries or wineries or cideries, it's now more about like looking at fermentation more than looking specifically at maybe beer styles
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and just that passion towards it. You could take a style that I don't necessarily gravitate towards, but if this person has like spent years trying to craft that recipe, that technique, that like
That's
historical
also
inspiration,
exciting.
that all of a sudden, like if you can get me reinvigorated into something that I haven't given a shit about, that's like
Somebody nailing a classic style
Right.
is the best.
Yeah.
You don't have to overcomplicate things
Right.
sometimes. If you just really have it dialed in with the flavor, like the texture of the beer, carbonation, and all that, it's really a memorable experience.
you send me down to Hogshead, you send me down to Bierstadt, you like any one of these places, and I like English cask beer, but in the terms of Hogshead, I fucking love
It's
English
exceptional.
cask beer.
It's like one of the best in the country, hands down, right?
Yeah.
Like you just can't get that in a lot of places.
Yeah. So from a brewing perspective, I'm more interested in those people who are not just trying to necessarily, I understand it's a business, you need to get by, you need to be able to, make beers that sell, but I'm definitely more interested in people who are really just trying to nourish their own creativity in that way. On the flip side, hanging out with people who know nothing about beer is sometimes a lot more fun.
It can be.
Or
Yeah,
like,
can be.
Because you
as
don't
long as it's
necessarily.
right. If they're open, if they're
detailed
just like,
dive.
if they're just willing to want to hang
they
out.
want to be a sponge, as opposed to the people that don't know anything about beer but they think they do.
Yeah, that's
Those
not
people
fair.
are fucking the
Yes,
worst.
exactly. Beer nerds who have no right to be beer nerds and also don't realize that at the end of the day, it's just fucking beer.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite things that comes up in
Can I
the
get that bag, buddy?
the Colorado Lake
Oh, hit the bag.
Open up the.
We have some fruit
Let's open
beers,
this
too.
pit up.
We have some fruit beers we want to share too.
Oh, that'd be great. Steve, what were
Actually,
you saying?
check with allergies.
Oh yeah,
Melons or plums?
Oh no, I'm good. No.
Yeah.
peanut.
Yeah,
peanut
I'm not a
butter.
little bitch.
It's
I'm not
just
that
peanuts.
allergic.
Do you have any nickel in there? Because I will not drink the nickel.
Fish? Oh,
What were you saying?
The Colorado Let's Talk Craft Beer group on Facebook
Oh.
is something that we tend to bring up, if not on the podcast, in like conversation fairly often. Corey's
Alright,
like, please
bag
take a
time,
picture of me.
bag
Oh,
time.
Oh god, no, you're
oh
good.
no, you gotta draw the thing.
What's it the shape of?
2 dicks.
Nice.
It's actually two.
The
It's
double dick.
depending on how you look at it, it's either one real long dick
Yeah.
or 2 separates.
Oh.
Yeah, just
Back to back, or?
It's not going, sorry.
why?
I don't know, it's, okay, go, do it again, slap it.
Yeah.
It's a good slap.
That's a power slap.
You see how it's coming at you.
It's coming at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can maybe
there pretty
circle
good.
breathe. I was like, how long do I have to go?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
fantastic. This is great.
But yeah, a lot of the stuff that's brought up in that group is like people that really think they know everything about beer.
The thing that bothers me about that is there's just a lot of like shitting on people, and like some
That's
breweries, some breweries are like having a great time and making stuff they like, and then people are like, this place sucks. I'm like, just be cool about it. We can all be positive. We don't have to like be jerks about places that are people's favorite place or are doing great beer, but it's not your style, or they don't make hazy IPAs or whatever. But like,
Yeah, you guys
I
must
don't
get that shit all the time.
Oh yeah,
Because
Yeah.
really, what do you have for fucking hazy? I'm sure.
we don't.
No, yeah, of course.
We
yeah,
make
you
one
don't.
kind of beer.
Sorry.
I mean, this has a little like, it's not
If you
perfectly
pour the end of
clear.
it, you saw
It's-
there's
it looks
yeast.
easy.
Which I mean, so but just because I did pour myself some of this, it's still the same base beer, right? Obviously, everything's the same base beer.
Exactly right. So it'll be the fact that every barrel allows evolution and flavor development to go a different way.
Totally.
It's the same process to create it, the same ingredients, source, etc. But it would have been a different cool ship night and different barrels that
Yeah.
created one versus the
Very
other.
cool. Because the original, I mean, it was a fantastic beer. The one you had in the bottle, carbonation, was
Oh, I appreciate it.
awesome. Like really.
So now
fluffy.
try it
delicious.
without bubbles.
Yeah, and but still, I mean, I love the idea of doing still because it can sit, or you can have it. Like you don't just have to crack the one bottle and then all right, well we got to finish it and it's done, or it's done, right? So you can have this around for a bit.
Keep it in your fridge on
Yeah,
tap.
absolutely. But I think the thing I like the most about it is that it's really bright in flavor, and there is like a must to it. There's kind of that like slight mildewy aroma and whatnot, but it's not too much. You know, it's not real cobweb. It doesn't conjure those kinds of images
Yeah.
necessarily, but all the elements are there. But I like that kind of lemon, like bright lemon, without it being overly acidic.
So I can, well, I mean, you can speak for yourself, but neither one of us, we both like acidity as a component to beer, but neither one of us are aiming for acidity as the dominant characteristic.
I mean, balancing things out is that's the key for me for any style, right? If the components don't blend well together, then it's like, okay, this is a decent attempt, but it's really not something truly memorable. But this, I think all the flavors and the carbonation and whatnot, lack thereof on this one, but like it's all great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
No, I
Yeah, we're
agree.
just trying to keep it balanced. So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
That part of the enjoyment of a selfish side project, the thing that we're doing for ourselves, is to make beer that we actually want to drink consistently. And that is a moving target. How we blend, how we made a blend for last year versus how we'll make a blend for next year might look different based off of how our tastes have shifted, other examples of contemporary lambic and goose that we've tasted, other American producers of spontaneous beer that have done something that, again, like excites us in a different way. So it's nice to not...
Where influences are.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's awesome too, because I would say that like that kind of mindset as like a creator is you're gonna be your own worst critic.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how you really create like a good product. It doesn't matter what fucking Ron says on Yelp, you know.
And Ron,
Like-
fucking notoriously, he does not like us on Yelp.
Ron's in general.
Right.
They don't like anything. If we're gonna be completely
Too
honest.
many cats running around.
Now, with
That's
either
why.
one of these, because it's a passion project for you guys and you want to make the beers that you really enjoy, but either this one or the previous, did it turn out exactly the way you wanted to? Is it close enough? At what point for you guys is it like, all right, we're good with this going out,
Right.
or it
Well, it's
needs
always
more time?
different, you know, and as you sample it over time, they change because they're wild beers. They've got this living thing in them, you know, these yeast and bacteria. So this one we haven't, the Festive Wave in the bottle we haven't released yet.
Right.
But we blended it to our taste, you know, and we used local honey as a priming sugar, and it has developed in a way that we're really happy with. But it have gone either way. I
It all
mean,
comes back around to bees.
truly.
Yeah.
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 Good
Yeah.
callback.
It's
Good
all
We hate them, we
Exactly.
love them, we
Yep.
need them.
We need about 10. We need to squeeze 10 more bees.
Yeah.
We're so close to our goal.
Listen, PETA hates us at this point. The number of bees that come through here that are just.
Well,
Between the cats and the barrels.
Yeah.
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 We can't put vegan on the label, and it is holding us
No
back in that
problem.
market.
But, so lambic is even more of an art to me than brewing in general, because I think sometimes with a lot of brewers, you follow a recipe and then this is the way the beer is supposed to turn out every time. But with lambic and wild culture, it's so much more about, all right, we get the initial base beer going, but then it's really fine tuning it from there by blending
Totally.
different barrels together.
Well, every barrel is like its own ecosystem. You know, they all turn out different. Even 4 or 5 barrels from the same brew day turn out different. 6 months, a year, 2 years later. So it's kind of cool to see like what you get to. You've always made the analogy that it's we're following. So we make one beer. We're following this recipe to make the paint, and then after the paint is made, that's when you blend and you make the painting.
That's when you take your clothes off, start finger painting.
Yeah.
Put some paper around the
Yeah.
room.
A little bit of
This is the
acid is going to get
canvas.
you doing a very good blend. Get that high resolution kind of thought process.
Yeah,
going.
everything starts to get a little pixelated. It's fun.
You have to take notes, otherwise who knows what
Yeah.
you're doing.
And some blends are better with mushrooms. It's again, it's what you're looking
It's
for.
really what you're feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
But before I get too sidetracked, we talked a little bit about the road trip that you guys just had. Because you're from New York as well.
Yeah.
Are you both from New York?
I'm not. No,
Okay.
I'm from Ohio.
All right, good. And then on the way back or out there, did you guys have any other interesting highlights about the trip other than stopping at a couple breweries?
On the way out, we tried to go as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Because we had been working every day up until just working really hard, getting all the, everything just ready to be left alone for a couple weeks. And so we really just got out there.
We wanted to get to the beach.
No
We were
speeding
ready.
I don't blame
tickets.
you, yeah.
Let's just fucking
No
sit in the
speeding
sun.
tickets.
good.
We were very
That's
careful.
Yeah.
Use that cruise control. No, we did it in 3 days. On the way out, it's 28 hours in 3 days. It was a lot.
Yeah. It's a
But
hefty
then
trip.
on the way back, we did it in 4 days, and it was you get your 2 hours back on the time zones, and we
It
went to some
was
breweries. It was
slow
much
and
nicer.
steady and relaxing.
Yeah, like only 7 or
Yeah.
8 hours a day.
I think the fact that it was a pandemic world also made it like there was less that we were kind of like excited to.
Couldn't do as much.
Right.
We gotta go see that.
Right.
Yeah.
We were able to kind of limit it down relatively and still feel like we had more exposure to people than we have in a really
it
long
was
time.
weird.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Midwest is not wearing masks.
Yeah.
Which was
No.
unnerving.
Yeah, it's that culture shock as you get to different
Colorado's
cities.
so good about it.
Yeah.
And New
I-
York is so good about
I
it.
don't know.
Springs
I
is
would
kinda
say
trash
even.
about
I would
And
say
Weld
even
County's not
you
great
get
at
out.
it.
You get out to Eastern Colorado,
Sure.
even parts of Longmont. I
Totally.
feel like.
As it gets closer to that Weld border.
Yeah. But yeah, like outside of major cities, people really don't give a shit.
Absolutely.
And even like Des Moines and Iowa, they don't give.
And honestly, I've had a lot of critical conversations in Long Island with people who thought the whole thing was a hoax. And I'd forgotten, having grown up to some degree around there and with people who I still consider my best friends, I did not realize there was as much of a political chasm in like a relatively, southern New York blue dot. All of a sudden, you still do quickly get to more red philosophies.
Yeah. Long Island in particular, it literally is its own little bubble.
Yeah.
Getting off of that damn island
Uh-huh.
is really hard to begin with. So
Bridge
people
and
just
tunnel
don't. People just don't, right? So they just stay there and then they incubate in whatever ideas are
Yes.
festering on the island.
Totally.
And yeah, it's very blue. It's a blue dot for sure, but it's also one of those blue dots that has a shitload of money and doesn't have to care about other people's problems. So
Right.
you get like that kind of it happens in like the ski towns sometimes
Yeah.
too around here.
Even
to
the
be honest.
liberalism is relatively like isolated almost.
It's a lot for show sometimes,
Yeah.
where you're just like, yeah, of course we care about these values,
Right.
but I also like my money and I like my land and I don't want to have to pay more taxes to help.
So they're saying they're
support
blue
the
and
community.
they're still voting for Trump, like
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
going into the ballot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Long Island is definitely full
Yeah.
of those people that are like, of course I'm gonna vote blue, and then they're like, I'm not telling anybody.
I only spent like 5 hours on Long Island. It was like a year ago. I was on Long Island. We went to an Islanders game,
Oh, cool.
and my impression of Long Island was kind of like your stereotypical like. This is the Jersey. Hey, I'm fucking walking here.
I knew that was going to be the New York
That's
impression.
totally like what it was.
It's the only one he's got.
Yeah,
It's good though.
Well,
You are
went-
nailing it.
I mean, we sat like in the Islanders fan base, and it was like too loud for us. But like they were all, I'm a big hockey guy, and they're like,
Too loud.
fucking
Wait a minute.
Varlamov fucking sucks. Bench the guy. And
You're like, I don't
they
even know what I'm
almost,
saying. I said that and I don't even know.
yeah.
That
Sit
guy.
too close to a guy. His spray tan washes off on your sweatshirt. It's a mess.
It is a
Should've
goddamn
worn
mess. After Labor Day, tacky. I wouldn't do it.
By the way, at the end of the glass of this, I get nothing but honey. It's pretty nice.
So good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was getting some like orange peel, a little bit of lemon up top, but then the honey kind of comes through the more.
Now it
Sits in
doesn't
the
even
glass.
have honey.
And so honestly, that's one of the reasons we went through a selection of
It's
like
got like tea, honey.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Black
That's
tea is
what
our
we always
favorite.
get.
Yeah, we selected a local honey. So we only use Colorado ingredients because, again, if you're going to have a stupid, inefficient niche project, you might as well also
Narrow yourself.
create even more boundaries
Yeah.
for what you're doing.
I
So,
mean, tell us, we run this podcast, so.
yeah.
Self-care.
Fair enough. Yeah. So we went through a selection process of what honey varietal do we use, and we selected an alfalfa wildflower honey that gave us flavors similar to what we get from the beer, like you just consumed, that doesn't actually have the honey yet.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm
So our
glad
bottle
that came
conditioned
through.
beers kind of emphasize that even more.
Yeah, that's really nice.
If I grab another glass, so you can double fist, I'm gonna open up the
Yeah, that sounds absolutely
I'm
great.
slow at drinking.
fine.
That's okay.
Before we do that, I'm just trying to think. Did you want to try to get into some bad reviews while we got these guys working for us?
Oh, I mean, we can get to some bad reviews.
Do you want the pop sound?
Oh,
Yeah.
Like a clean take?
Yeah, we love the pops.
Ooh.
Clean take.
Ha.
Ooh, weed.
How long have you guys actually been operating out of this space?
Our tap room's been open since April 2018.
Okay.
We had year-old beer once we opened, so
Nice.
we've been brewing for a while.
But you guys actually do you do a lot of mailing out to other places, or has that mostly just been because of COVID?
It started, I don't know if I want near the mic.
I can help plug
It started,
You're the
we
master
started
on
in
this.
January, which was lucky and fortuitous
good
because I
timing.
was all
Yeah.
set up by the time the world shut down.
2020 eatery and cafe closed.
Before 2020 happened, yeah. So I use this company called Bev, and it's a really unique business because they worked with UPS to change some of the laws in certain states that you can ship. They sort of sourced licensing through liquor stores in those sort of like sponsored states. But basically, I can ship direct to people's houses from here in about 15 states. And so I can make an online store. Bev helps me make this online store, and then I can ship whatever people order from here to their house. So it's fantastic. It's been a lifesaver during pandemic times.
Now you don't have to lie to the person at the counter. and
Yeah.
say,
Snow
anything
globes.
liquid, flammable, or
olive
perishable in here? It's
oil.
like, no, Kathy, there isn't.
No, it's a snow globe.
Why would you ever ask that?
No.
It's
The
amazing. So
return
I have a
address.
UPS person come here and they're like, "Oh, beer, cool," and I'm like, "Yep, it's beer." It just feels so real.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's like, yeah, I am like a drug dealer now.
I'm
This is
sending
cool.
you beer. It's great. So any
That's
breweries
awesome.
out there that need to ship beer, I recommend Bev. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good plug, good plug.
Good
Yeah,
plug.
We got the Bev
It's a
in
solid
there.
plug.
Yeah, yeah.
it just works.
Shout out to our new, hopefully sponsor.
I bet we could get a little money towards the, yeah.
Yeah, get us in contact with those folks.
Exactly.
We need some cash. But I remember when I first started getting into craft beer, I was way more into beer trading and mailing stuff out. Nowadays, it just seems so silly because there is so much work, and it's the whole culture of it's kind of gross, to be honest, where people are not even drinking a lot of the beers that
Yeah.
they're buying,
It's
right?
like a
They're just trying to
currency. It's a
up their
currency.
trade
Yeah.
value on
Yeah.
stuff, and it's kind of annoying. There's whole pages that are dedicated to certain breweries,
It's
like
too rich
trading.
for my blood.
Yeah, there's,
We have some friends that are really into it.
and
I
we,
think
and,
it's awesome.
and we love that
we
they,
have benefited from it.
exactly.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But I
absolutely.
Well, I'm sure
can't
you
do it.
guys can hand over some bottles and be like, all right, go tell us what you can find for this.
Our bottles
Ours
don't,
don't really go for
ours, yeah, people
the beer that we can get can go for other stuff.
Exactly. We're in some other clubs that, let's just say, are more stout focused, and we can trade those stouts for a lot of lambic, which
Which
gets
is our
us
goal.
excited, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we want to. That's what gets us excited to drink, and we get to then support our friends through, direct financially of
The
saying,
club.
giving X amount of money to the club, and B, setting certain trade values and saying like, look how good their stout is. Like it's getting this other valued thing, at higher quantities. So, I think it's a really there are some brewers, even in the sour wild game, that are take a lot of efforts to reduce secondary market and trading and how beer is valued outside of their tap room. And I think we're on the other side of it, which is like
I want anyone that wants it to be able to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it should be like elitist, and we also probably price our bottles too low, I think. But that's because I want people
to
that
drink, right?
like when I got into craft beer, I also had no money, and I mean still don't, but it would be
That's right.
it would be so
Put that on the
prohibitive.
record.
You can write that down.
Another similarity between comedy.
Yeah.
It does not pay for shit,
But
it's
it
fun.
would be so prohibitive to not be
For
able to
broke
buy
people.
anything that you were excited about. And if you're like, oh, I really want that, but it's way too rich for my blood, like that's not cool. So
And plus, most of the stuff that's in the style category is the barrier to entry is a higher price point, right? Like if you think of Dre Fontaine or you think of Cantillon, things of that nature, it's going to be more expensive, as it should be, right? Because it's a longer process, it's more intricate, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But having stuff that's easily accessible for people. Like, did you have anybody locally that you were drawn to that was just like, we'd love to be able to do what they're doing on like a wild level?
another brewery that does what
Yeah,
we
like
do?
another
No.
like nobody.
In relatively local
Oh.
inspiration, if that's
Oh,
kind of
sure.
what I want to
Oh yeah, that's
I was
what
like,
kinda
Longmont?
getting at.
I don't think so.
No, I meant
We'll
like
call
greater.
Colorado.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Casey Brewing and Blending does
Certainly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Wild beers, a lot
Absolutely.
of fruited wild beers.
Yeah. Black Project was probably the first to have an earnest kind of coolship spontaneous program
Those
as
guys
well.
are fun too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
exactly.
they're great.
I
And
mean,
they're
not super local, but Jester King is
Jessica certainly from
big
a
inspiration.
yeah. So Peter Buchart in general.
Yeah.
I mean, right now he's up at Purpose, but even before then, when he was the brewmaster over at New Belgium,
He was doing cool stuff.
he was doing cool stuff. La Folie as a beer, as an early beer drinker, I mean that's still, even though Flanders Red and even though Brewing isn't a style I gravitate towards anymore, that was an eye-opening style when we were first drinking, quote-unquote clean beers or
Oh, for sure.
purposely fermented
And it's
beers.
still nice to revisit. I mean, I
Yeah.
actually had a bottle of it over the weekend for the
Nice.
first time in like 2 years. I'm just like, yeah, it's fantastic.
And they've made quote unquote improvements to it. I think the fact that they are now not pasteurizing it and they're bottle conditioning it again. There was probably a 5 to 10 year hiatus where they kind of went the other direction and said, we need to get this beer out en masse. Let's make it more shelf stable. Let's make sure it doesn't change. And I think they, on some level, alienated a certain component of the wild population of people who are like, no, but the fun of these beers are that they evolve and change and that they might have
If you
bottle-to-bottle
buy
variability.
2016, 2017, 2018, they all taste exactly the same.
Right, which is
Why
cool
would I
for
buy the older one?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely
Yeah.
right.
But now they've gone back the other way, and that excites me that even a larger brewery who has certainly paved the way for many of us to exist can kind of read the writing on the walls and say, all right, let's take a step back and maybe try a tradition that is certainly not any more financially more efficient, but could get some people more excited even if it's an infinitesimal part of that drinking population. That says something.
And that's something that should be more important to some larger brewers, but once you become like more of a corporate brewery, it's harder to think about the fun, more artistic things that made your brewery cool in the first place because you've just created this machine now that needs to continue to eat, right? So you need to come out with things that can hit all the grocery stores and meet distribution and are great price points, but then you lose a lot of that nuance of what made you a darling in the first place.
Like a darling in the first
darling.
place.
Yeah.
That's going on.
Put that on.
Oh, that sounds like a bad improv team.
But because you have some amazing brewers that work at a lot of these bigger breweries, but by the time the company, there's oftentimes this intersection where the company is going in a more capitalistic direction, where they need mass distribution, they want to increase the volume by leaps and bounds. And at that point in time, a lot of the brewers that helped get them where they were are close to retirement. And as soon as they can't do the more fun, nuanced styles and experimentation things anymore, and it becomes like this mass machine, they're like, okay, well, I'm kind of out
Done
now.
anyway.
And then how does that come back?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, sorry. I just started
No,
thinking
no, that's great. But there's so much to unpack there, both on the quote unquote feeding the machine in the amount of maybe overstepping your footprint and having a wide distribution network and building the infrastructure and the technology required for that, and now going into a lot of debt, and it being a nearly endless process of needing to sell, needing to move beer, to even try and make those ends meet, which I know a lot of, that's an issue for a lot of even moderate-sized breweries at this point to, in COVID, it's going to be something that right now the ability of some breweries to have a distribution network and packaged goods, that's kept them alive. But if they keep going down that pathway, if they try to expand more, that starts to get into really dangerous territory.
Yeah, because a lot of these breweries bring on, and whether you're small, medium, or large, if you have debt, then you got to pay that shit off.
Right.
Yeah. People are only going to give you so much of a grace period.
Yeah.
Well, and even before COVID, like I can think of a few breweries that started going really heavy into their canning line and then weren't even able, like their employees were all quitting because they weren't getting paid because they couldn't afford to pay their employees that were doing the work. So.
And also with the whole idea of equity and just paying people a living wage as opposed to a minimum wage, which, paying people what is required by law versus actually a way that you can keep kind of employee retention, that's something that the brewing industry just hasn't even. The fact that we're just talking about unionizing smaller craft breweries, with the case of Surly and some others that are coming more into the focus of the news, this is not an issue that is new. It is only one that is starting to gain a little more momentum as it is more socially acceptable to engage in these conversations.
If one of you two had to lay off one of your employees, it'd be pretty awkward.
Yeah, well, technically,
And we're also not paid.
technically neither one of us are employed. We have 0 employees.
Here has 0 employees.
Yeah. So when we both just put up the picket line and we're like, they're not
You're a
doing.
scab.
I saw you sneaking in last night.
You were sampling all the barrels. I knew it.
Part of
Yeah.
my severance.
Yeah. All
My
of
$0 severance.
Just wheeling a barrel out the door in the middle of the night.
I'm taking this for me.
Yeah, we do boxes slip through the cracks all the time. We've been known to steal from ourselves.
Some beer home.
So 2 questions. One, what are we drinking right now? And then 2, figure out whichever one you want to answer first. What is Spawn Bing Bong?
Oh, well, we'll just want to go first.
I saw Spawn Bing Bong at UCB West.
They were okay. They were okay.
2007.
Yeah? That's
But for
okay.
the people that were really into it, they really liked it.
Yeah.
They got it. It was a very
They do.
It was only about 3 of the people in the audience, but
They
they
were
loved
way
it.
too
Um,
So, Spawn Bing Bong is what we have just playfully called spontaneous beer.
Nice.
Basically, if you want to go, we've said this a million times, but if you want to go deep in the weeds with us and talk about details of yeast and bacteria and porosity of oak barrels, like if you want to get super deep into that, we will go there with you. We're excited about it. But if you just like how it tastes and it's bubbly and it's delicious and you like it, it's Spawn Bing Bong, and don't worry about it. And we don't have to talk about
Also
the
a cooler
details.
name than Method
I
Drink.
agree.
Yeah.
So that's
So we have
a good
sweatshirts
connection
and
right
we
there.
use the hashtag, and it's silly, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
we just had fun with it.
No, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
It rhymes and that's it.
In terms of what we're drinking right now, we are drinking Moon River Rock, which is a 2-year aged spontaneous beer blended onto honeydew melon, the quote-unquote famous, the world-famous Rocky Ford honeydew melon, so also grown in Colorado, and re-fermented with that melon in some Chateau Montelena Chardonnay barrels. So if you've ever seen the movie Bottle Shock,
It's the winery that
it's the
won.
winery, yeah, exactly. We don't know much about wine, again, because of the price of entry, but we've heard of that winery and enjoy those barrels just as a
I
function.
love this label, too, by
Thanks,
I love the
Stacey
beer.
McMahon.
Yeah, shout out to
She's in
Stacey.
Denver.
Also from a
Very good.
comedy connection, if you want to.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
go for it.
so Moon River Rock, and then there is a second beer coming later next month, Moon River Roll. Are you guys familiar with the Netflix special, I Think You Should Leave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the sketch where it's like, you're a star, I'm gonna make you famous.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the spine surgery.
It's the spine surgery commercial that takes the amazing dog tail into stop tricking adults into thinking they're stars.
So the song he's singing is Moon River Rock, Moon River
I
Roll.
love it.
It's one of our few actual references to something, but we
We're obsessed with Tim Robinson.
yeah, we are obsessed with Tim Robinson. And
Detroiters was great. I love
We just
Detroiters.
started that last night.
There's
We
I've
love it.
never seen a funnier opening scene to any TV show
Oh,
ever.
so
The
good.
very first scene of Detroiters is one of the funniest things I've ever watched.
It's So good.
It's fucking
The
amazing.
show's amazing with
Yeah.
the champagne, Eddie Champagne, the king,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hot tub
And the hot
king.
water and-
Yeah, boiling water.
Yeah, and then without going into the weeds, if you're listening
into
right
it.
now, you should probably go put on the Detroiters and
Yeah.
And
take a
also
pause
watch
from the
I Think You
podcast.
Should Leave.
I think you should leave as
We've watched it easily 3 dozen times.
easily because it's only for the record. I think you should leave is basically 6 20-minute episodes that include like 4 to 5 vignettes that are like at 5 minutes apiece. It seems like things that Tim Robinson had pitched to Saturday Night Live, but they were like, no, that's way too obscure to actually make
Yeah.
sense,
Too
or like it's too weird. And like improv, if it doesn't hit you, it probably won't hit you, but you should probably watch it 3 times over.
The
Yeah.
weird thing is like, sketch is something that, especially here in Colorado, sketches are not like a huge thing. Like there's a few comics that make film sketches, but like live sketch does not exist in Colorado at all. So there's not a lot of people like
So do
writing.
you guys want to
stuff.
join our sketch team?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll get
Memorize
better.
lines.
We're
I got
called
this.
Ting Tong Sing Song.
Oh, make sweatshirts.
But yeah, I mean, like sketch, even, and I don't think it's like a regional thing, but like watching TV sketch, for me is like there's always a few that like really deter me from finishing. There's a few. Every sketch show has done sketches.
Oh, yeah.
But they'll,
Every
they'll be
single one.
someone else's favorite. That's what's so
Absolutely,
cool
yeah.
about this show to me is like we talk to people that have seen it and they're like, oh my god, my favorite's this one. I was like, oh, weird, that's my least favorite, but this is my favorite. And they're like, oh, I didn't like that one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool.
And
back
also disgustingly watching it literally about 3 dozen times at this point,
Yeah.
like sharing with other people and winding up watching the entire series because it's only about an hour and a half commitment.
forth. The whole thing. Yeah.
All of a sudden, our favorites and like lackluster dud sketches start to like shift
Turn.
positions. Things that you'd never thought were like all that funny. All of a sudden, like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I love just with a movie or a sketch or watching somebody stand up. There's some comics in our scene that I know their jokes inside and out, and no matter how many times I hear certain things, I start dying. I start cracking up.
Much
Even though I
like
know
my
it's
whale
coming.
joke, delivery is
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
The
Anytime
15th
we hear
time
that.
you hear his whale joke, you're gonna love it.
Hilarious.
You're gonna
Get
love
this
it.
guy an hour
Killer whale.
special.
He needs a Netflix.
One joke, hour special.
You do the whale sounds for an hour.
I mean, that would be just an
59 minutes and
athletic
30
event to be
seconds.
able to
Do whale sounds for an hour. If anybody can do it, I believe it too. I saw you chug.
1 minute and 44 seconds.
I saw you chug that bomb earlier for an hour and for a minute and 40 seconds.
I like to think 10 years down the line, that might be my intro.
He was ahead of his time.
It's 10 years too early.
But man,
People
as
weren't ready
opposed,
for him.
as opposed to the other two, this one is like way more like, to me, the first thing I thought of was watermelon Sour Patch Kids.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, the way the honeydew comes across, totally watermelon and cucumber. I mean, like that melon just comes out, and it's got a more poignant acidity in that same way of like the Sour Patch Kids compared to other watermelon like
Yeah.
Jolly Ranchers, that kind of thing.
Still manageable level of sourness
Yeah.
though.
This is about the max that we kind of wanna go for in terms of a blend.
Yeah.
Any more than that, we want to bring it down. And certain fruits, I think, allow themselves to hold acidity better than others. When you have a cherry that's got too much acidity, that can get like, it's already dark, it's got more body behind it. When that acid is now part of that balance, it can get heavy. Whereas something like a melon, which is mostly aromatic, I think the acidity there carries some of the flavor
So you
components.
have to pick a base beer that kind of doesn't overshadow, or if the fruit is sour, you don't pick like a sour base beer so that they're both sour. You try and kind of balance it out.
Yeah, that was a better way of putting it.
Mostly hand gestures.
Yeah.
Brewing
Yeah,
is
sorry.
mostly.
Yeah,
It's
a
visual
We're on
medium.
video. We're on video.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's mostly a series of landing a plane, while also communicating in sign language that you need to know where the bathroom is.
Yeah, the banyo.
I've seen
Exactly.
stand-up comedians do that as a bit, so.
I want to just take, by the way,
What's the deal?
What airplane bathrooms?
you sound like Bernie Sanders now. It's like I'm telling you again. For the
It's almost like marionette strings. So good.
There are some
I
comics.
can't wait to cut this video up later and take the sound off, and it's just.
Just do a little thing
Wild
where
gesturing. Yeah.
There are some comics who really do try to like be aware of their hand gestures, and in turn, like they're so exuberant. They're just like, so I went to the store the other day.
No.
I was going to the mall.
Hi-ya!
Too much.
Yeah.
It's for the hearing impaired, they think they're doing a favor, and it's really still just more confusion than not.
Conspiracy shit. I also,
It's delicious.
who does your guys' labels?
So these ones are by Stacey McMahon. She's in Denver. She does like wedding photography, product photography, labels. She's pretty talented.
There's a T-Rex in the moonlight here. Which
This one has
I'm
a
big fan of.
unicorn, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah, so similar styles but different color palettes and then little differences.
If you ever do a blend of these two, the T-Rex should be eating the unicorn.
Well, I don't know. I think the
No,
unicorn
wait,
might be able to
the
take
unicorn would be riding the T-Rex.
Well, fine. That
Very
should be the
nice.
battle. That's the battle.
I was gonna say the lasers coming out of the unicorn just piercing the T-Rex.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh, it's
no, I think
awesome.
riding is more peaceful and it's nicer. And ironic, because you ride a horse, not usually a dinosaur. So
Right, but you
Well,
can't
Jesus
ride
rode a
nobody rides.
dinosaur, right?
That's
So.
I thought
That's true.
Jesus had a whole stable of unicorns.
yes,
Okay.
He
that
was
also
born in
mine.
one, actually.
A stable full of unicorns.
Yeah, that's
Is
the
that
part
your
that
name?
people
A stable of unicorns.
That's the
is
part
a
that got
great
lost in
name.
translation.
Yeah. So
Well,
that's.
I think we probably found a new job. It's just naming beers.
But I must tell you again, we
Text you
can't
guys
pay you
out.
very well.
It's okay. I'm just gonna text you when I'm tripping from
Please.
now on.
Please.
Hey, I have this idea.
we love
Does
it.
that go on the list?
I do that with bits all the time where
Do
I'm
they
like
ever make
tripping.
sense the next morning?
Fucking no.
Yeah. I've written notes to myself while I'm tripping too, and they still make me laugh, but I have no idea what the fuck I
Yeah.
was thinking.
Yeah.
I might know like the impetus, like yeah, I was thinking of that, and then
And then really just got out there.
really got up there.
Yeah.
I think I had one time after a trip I had a note that basically said like best man speech, latex mittens, and like strangle. You know, as 3 things that you see on a list, I can see like okay, it would be pretty funny to like do a terrible best man speech on purpose. I don't know how latex mittens come into
That's
it,
so
but
scary.
You might just have the order wrong. This will probably make more sense if you did the
Strangle
jumbo.
with.
yeah, exactly. Strangle with latex mittens.
The guy that gave the bad best man speech
Yeah,
Got strangled.
got strangled with latex mittens.
with latex mittens,
Yeah.
So no, there's something there.
Reordinate.
which I think are just gloves, right?
Latex
Made out
gloves.
of latex.
Yeah.
No,
Mittens.
technically mittens have no finger separation.
Exactly.
There's it's
Oh.
more.
So you don't have
More
the
lobster
dexterity.
claw.
You don't have the
I like it.
dexterity, but you got
See it.
warm fingies.
Seems like
Yeah,
it's
your fingies is warm.
Sweaty, yeah.
Which is nice. You gotta
Is
want
there
those warm
powder in
fingies.
there? It gets all.
Yeah, yeah. My dad's allergic to the. If we're talking, is this still the allergy podcast?
It always has
Always.
been.
Cool.
Yeah.
We cross promote quite frequently.
My father is allergic to the powder and latex mittens and gloves.
Yeah.
He's a dentist too, so that's something that he comes into contact with quite a bit.
Some people are allergic to the latex itself.
Yeah, yeah. And
I am not allergic to either because I like to take them and I pour the powder into a line and then just.
Yeah, so if Steve ever uses
face.
if Steve ever uses a condom, he's fine. But if he sticks his dick in peanut butter, watch out.
Are they equally protective against STDs?
I'm no scientist, but I say absolutely.
Peanut butter?
Has it not worked yet?
It depends on sugar or smooth.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of What Are You Allergic to?
Well, this has been fun, and we do
Well,
like
before
to.
we move on, can we crack this up?
Absolutely.
So I have
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
to
baby. Let's get
cleanse
it.
my palate with
Yeah.
while we rip you guys apart.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's not really us ripping you
No,
apart.
don't worry. We've earned
It's
the
The internet as a whole. And I have to say that you have very few reviews on the internet.
Well,
Period.
we've made very few beers.
Not the point.
Or people don't like us and they don't want to talk about it.
No. I think, and everything that we've had and the experience here has been exceptional, so we totally understand why. But part of the fun of doing this is just to be
Absolutely.
silly and realize how stupid the internet can be and how a lot of people just don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go for it.
Okay. So this one, I like this. And this isn't even really a bad review. I just thought that it was fun. This is an Untapped review for Mild Wizardry.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Plug it
And Ren, I'm gonna have to ask you to read it
Yeah,
a
please.
cappella,
Ooh.
if you could for us. I'd really appreciate it. So just read. Are you gonna do that, or do you want me to?
That was,
I don't
that was
care.
the intro.
No. Am I saying? Am I giving you the review over
Yeah,
that? Or
yeah,
do you
yeah,
want me
please.
to? Okay, go for it. David M. Primitive beer, mild wizardry. Definitely a trip to Funky Town. I think it rips.
That's
Was that-
amazing. I love
Dude, that song fucks.
I would play that on loop forever. Definitely.
4 out of 5 on Untappd, so not a bad review.
Not
That's a fun
It just-
review.
It just made me think of Towley.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the password? It's like, no, man, that's the tune to Funky Town.
Definitely funky.
I love it. That went with the beats so well.
And I was hoping that they were coming to the end of that review because I'm like, otherwise I'm gonna just have to repeat this.
How do you loop that into the
Running out of
next one?
steam.
Okay, so this is off of Google reviews, and this is a person named. Yeah,
Is it
you have so few reviews that
I
you
hope this
know
is
which
the
one I'm
wobbly
bringing.
I was hoping the wobbly table too.
Go on.
Yeah.
If it's not, then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, please talk about that after if it's not that one.
Derek Moody, 1 year ago, 2 stars. Beer is okay, sour beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a hipster vibe with wobbly tables and sitting under shelves.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Sure.
That
Yeah.
is the entire
I
review.
love that your issue is if our tables are wobbly or not.
Yeah. So I believe we also replied to that.
You
guys are good about replying to all of them.
Not only did you reply to it, you replied with an entire manifesto that took me 3 screenshots.
Yeah, exactly.
fit the
That's how you know
entire
we're douchebags.
Review, yeah. Oh yeah.
We
and
really
it's
want
like,
people to be happy.
Yeah.
for
so
the dude
badly.
that can't even write one complete proper sentence.
But I think the real issue was that the beers were sour or anything like that.
Yeah. Which I get. I
He
mean,
didn't say
we were
that
trying to
they
make lager and something got fucked up in the
We're
process.
just
And we
bad
said,
at beer.
beer is okay, sour beers.
That's what they say about lagers, you know. They're hard to screw up. So if you do, you just turn it into a sour
Yeah,
beer and then you start a business.
Just put some fruit in it, you're good.
You're good to go.
But
It's
it's like,
good to go.
It's like Portland. You put a bird on.
Put a fruit in it.
We love Portland.
But you do it like the whole review. You write a whole response, and you really go into every single detail.
A point by point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, here's why you're fucking wrong, man.
Hey guy, open your fucking eyes.
Open
Yeah.
your mind.
In terms of wobbly tables, we're assuming you were referring to the convertible communal tables and seating under pallet shelving.
I wrote this.
You mean the pallet jack that you were sitting on?
These are functions of sharing our production space with patrons looking to sample. I lost
Shit.
it here.
This is wild. This is crazy.
This one's Italian
Oh, I lost
plum.
it. I can't read.
This
Yeah,
one,
so
called
the-
this one Bottle Rocket Science.
It's all good. The response sucks, but we had to.
It's
I
fine.
was like,
I'm sure he
not
didn't write
allowed
that.
to look at the internet. Pretty much.
I think it
Period.
was shortly after that I told Brandon you can't go on Untappd and you can't go on reviews or
Man,
Yelp.
But that response
Yeah,
is just
I
like I
kept
got really high and just started talking.
I
Worried
did get
about it.
stoned. I need to get stoned to do a response, so I'm more peaceful. Because I think if I write the response, really reading it still completely sober, I'm a little there's too much edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around edges.
So what's this beer
So
that we're having?
we just released this past weekend. It's called Bottle Rocket Science. It's a 2-year beer aged on Colorado grown Italian prune plums.
Oh, that tastes so great. Because I'm getting my mind immediately makes me think of cherry, right? But plums obviously have their own unique flavor to them, but it's more tart than what you'd obviously expect to see, which is obviously coming from the yeast itself not just the fermentation, but
And the fruit juice. I mean, it's got this cool stewed cinnamon plum tart kind of thing that I
yeah,
really
that's
like.
what I was picking up was
When we
the
first
cinnamon.
bottled it, I got this huge Hawaiian punch nose, but I only get it a little bit now.
It's less tropical punchy, and it has steered more
Yeah.
towards if you gave me this beer blind, I would have
Cherry.
said cherry.
Yeah.
Definitely more peppery too. I'm getting
Yeah.
a lot of pepper on the nose.
Yeah. Which given that Italian, they're both stone fruit. They're both pretty closely related, and Italian prune plums compared to most plums are actually getting closer to the size of cherries.
But I love the fact that it's not overly sweet. If you were to use cherries, right? That
Yeah.
plum has a more dialed down sweetness to it. for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a little more
Sweet at
muted.
all.
Yeah.
Are either of you guys familiar with Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Mm-hmm.
Do you watch the show?
Yes.
Enough.
Yes.
More than enough. Last year we went through, as they were releasing the new season, we went from the beginning and just watched it in order.
So do me a favor, and which one of you would like to read this?
You do it.
Am I supposed
Read
to
the
be?
name, read the beer. It's still from Mild Wizardry, and I think you'll understand why I brought the reference up when you see the review.
Do you want to read it as Larry David?
Pretty. And it should be good, but it's a 1-star review, so unfortunately, it's just ellipses to the end of the
all
word.
it says.
But I do
Anything
appreciate
else?
pretty pretty. Yeah, like I don't know what this
That's
person's going for.
That's all it says about
Yeah.
the whole thing.
You know?
1 star.
I can
That's
I can
so
kind of live with that
funny.
though. It's reviews that are just low and don't say anything.
What are you supposed to do? with that?
Fuck it, I guess. I don't know.
You also read there because at Google
Yeah.
before a certain period of time you couldn't write an actual review. You could just give a rating on
Right.
one. You went back and like responded to all the low ones that are
Yeah.
just.
Well, there was a 4-star. We're like, why is it 4? What
Can we
do you
get to
mean?
5? Can we get to 5?
Come on, team, we can do this.
We haven't done
Yeah.
anything wrong.
Again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I know not to respond to trolls or try and convince or coerce anyone into a great review. But you know, given that this is something we do voluntarily, not for money, when we hear that people are disappointed in any way, and the fact that we have no employees, so
Yeah.
it's
It's
us. If you have a problem, it's us. Yeah, it's you know, I'm trying to realize that it's a constant struggle, but not taking personal value from the online opinions.
Sure, but you also have to understand, and I'm sure you do, that you guys are in an incredibly niche part of the industry, and most of the people that have negative things to say likely don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, but again, you know,
And that you still are allowed to have an opinion.
yeah, you don't need to have a master's degree to you know.
No, I
to
know,
what we're
I know,
doing,
but
so.
it's still just funny to me how some
Yeah.
people like, whatever, the opinion that you're giving is based out of like, all right, well, this isn't your thing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the fact that you're giving somebody a rating
Right.
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
on it is kind of
Well, I
shitty.
used to work at a bar that made mostly IPAs, and we'd get reviews that said 1 star, too many hops. I don't even like IPAs, and you're like, well, then why did you review it?
How many hops is enough for you?
They
huh?
had too many. Okay, it's a thing that I never really understood.
All right, got one more untapped, and then
Yeah,
I got a Yelp
please.
coming your way.
Yeah.
This one's just, I'm sure you guys get this a lot. So,
Like a
3 out of
paper
5 on Untapped from Scott S.
Huh? This one says it came in a box.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. That right. Is that could have been the reason they gave it 3 stars.
They thought it
and
wasn't
The
supposed to.
beer was terrible. It would have been a 1 star, but it did come in a box.
Yeah.
So
That's
better.
pretty
But
exciting.
this reminded me of my childhood.
Yeah.
So,
Aren't all good things supposed to come in
Mom
boxes?
used to drink one of these before church every
Uh-huh.
week. So,
Oh,
It came in a
God
box.
rest her soul.
Cool.
My phone is being dumb, so I lost my next review.
oh, he was
so-
just gonna give you a review.
Yeah, just for
Someone, I don't have a name on it.
I'm gonna
Someone
read
wrote-
this one just because it's a little long, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you the Spark Notes version of this. But it's Wendy Z from Yelp.
Okay.
3 stars.
Okay.
Really cute place. Very nicely done inside. So kudos to that.
Oh.
But be sure to ask for a taster first.
Oh yeah,
I did this one.
Beer
Yeah.
tender explained it is beer made without hops and aged in oak barrels. Should have been a red flag for you in the first place, Wendy, but I don't know what to tell you. I don't know anything about primitive beer making, so I asked. I like the way that she says it. It kind of sounds like you guys are cave people.
Yeah.
You know,
It's cool.
I know about drawing on cave walls. I don't know
beer
about
making-
To be fair, we were tripping and we were naked when she came in.
Yeah,
It
that's
was,
good.
you know.
It's on
we weren't
us.
expecting visitors
Right.
today.
Hi, Wendy.
Is it Saturday
Brandon's
already?
just making whale noises.
In the corner.
Be aggressive.
Naked.
Yeah.
Poured me a whole big glass. I took 1 sip and was surprised to find it tasted like straight apple cider vinegar.
Cool.
I really wish you would have warned me. Kind of sounds like she did. That this is not like any other kind of beer and suggested a taster first. I hope they do well and that other people like this kind of beer, quote unquote.
Yeah.
This is one of
there
those
it
wish you the
is.
best.
What the
I
fuck?
hope your business model works.
I remember this. So we get a variety of customers when our bar is open. There is the people that came from super far away or nearby that are super lambic nerds. They're home brewers.
Yeah.
They like wild beers. They like sours.
It's a purposeful
and it's
destination.
a destination.
They
And
like
then
sticks. Other people don't get it,
They don't
but
get
they love
sticks.
sticks.
They love it.
Leafy vegetable.
and then there are other people who walk by
Meant
and
the band
see.
sticks.
Oh, man.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, there you go.
They
See,
see.
you guys don't fucking get it either.
Sorry.
Yeah, we don't even understand
We
our
don't get it.
operation.
But then there's also people that walk by and they're like, oh, brewery, let's go in. And what's your IPA? What's your stout? And I go through the whole spiel and they go, great, what's your stout? And I say, well, I just, explained it all to you.
I like a
I'll-
good brown.
That's
What do you
fine.
got for me?
I'll have your IPA. And it's this whole thing.
I
of
get
like,
what you're doing.
I'm
Cool.
trying
IPA,
to
please.
temper expectations for those people because I'm like, you might love this, and that would be amazing. I would love it if you love it, but you might not, and that's also okay. And you don't have to feel like after I've given you this whole explanation that you need to buy something. You don't need to hang out here. Like you can leave. It's my feelings won't be hurt, but people feel like I have to hang out. I have to buy something. They've given us this whole explanation, and it's sort of a weird.
I prefer aggressive to passive aggressive. Like if someone's like, oh, I mean, I'm sure someone likes this.
Yeah, and people say, oh, it's not for me. I'm like, that's totally fine. Feel free to leave. Cool.
I know, like a lot of breweries have situations where somebody comes in and asks for the closest thing like Bud Light.
Yeah.
That happens all the time at other breweries.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get that here?
Oh, all the time.
What the
all
fuck
the
do
time.
you say to that?
Well, we started carrying guest beers where we're like, well, this is a lager. This is a craft lager from a local brewery. But I would say the first 2 years, year and a half, we didn't have that, and now it's like, well, we don't have anything for you.
Nothing.
And we got kind of annoyed.
If anything, we would. It's the same way that when I work at other breweries, if someone comes in looking for that, I'm like, oh yeah, it's not a problem. It's not what we focus on. Let me tell you 5 great breweries within like a 10-minute kind of radius from here that you can get exactly what you're looking for. I want you to find the beer that you want. If you want to try and broaden those horizons, if you want to try some other things, happy to take the time, see if you like it.
We don't have that.
Not offended, but yeah, we're not going to pretend that the Bud Light that you're looking for, which again
comes out of our cask handfuls.
Exactly. I don't need to. It's not Emperor's New Clothes over here. I'm not going to magically give you a light lager. It's just.
But we started carrying guest beer, so we had an IPA.
Just something to offer.
We had some
people.
stouts. We had some like craft lagers, foeder lagers.
I do see some breweries where they like don't have anything close, and they like maybe not breweries, but like larger tap rooms, restaurant tap rooms that have a lot of guest taps. They're always like, well, you could try this cream ale, and
Right.
it's like that's not necessarily very close to like a Bud Light.
It's closer than our beer.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that is probably, is that one of the benefits to also working with Four Noses, is that you can use a lot of that stuff as guest beers, or is that
We
usually
actually
how it
haven't
works? Or?
offered that yet. Well, we don't want to blur the lines too much between people. People come in here and they think this is either a side project of Four Noses or of their team, because that's where we worked.
Yeah, okay.
Work. And it's not really like, we're trying to keep it pretty clear.
Yeah,
that
sure. I
something's
just wasn't sure
separate.
if
Yeah.
that was, if you,
We
that was
definitely
part of
could.
it.
We're about to do a collaboration with Wild Provisions. So the joke is, despite and Tommy and Andrew, guys, where was I on that podcast day?
He was there in the back the whole time. Never got invited. And those guys didn't drink at all.
Yeah.
So I think you're way ahead of it.
If you actually download that podcast episode and listen to it backwards, you can hear a bunch of whale noises.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you listen to the whale noises backwards,
Sync it up with The Wizard of Oz.
Oh my God.
it's going to teach you some trippy shit. In reality, I'm the only one who actually works on the beers at Wild Provisions, and I get to do a collab with myself and myself. So I've got
we're
a
gonna do a
fooder.
collab between Primitive and Wild Provisions.
Right.
And it's brand
That's a weird way to
Brandon.
put something. Like that's
Yeah.
that's like
I know what
calling
barrel tastes great
masturbating
here, I know.
having sex with myself.
Yourself.
And
It's filming yourself masturbate and then watching that film of yourself masturbate.
Oh no!
Is that like metabation or?
Is that a term?
It is now.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah. The metabation collab. You know what? It's at the very least, it's a good word.
Let it spin around a
Metabation.
little
It's a fun combo of words.
Yes,
but-
it's a portmanteau. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Well, before we get out of here, is there anything that you guys would like to promote or hype up about the space or new beers you got releasing?
We're still doing to go only at this point, just because it's world pandemic and we don't want to be open.
It does. We are in the technically
What
you
should
would
be
call a
tap
tap room.
Yeah,
But it,
technically.
It's sick.
It's a
It's
production.
awesome.
It's very
I know
nice.
it's small, but it's
One
fucking
star, no
awesome.
tables.
Well, it's
As
usually
you-
it's that whole area, this, and then all of that. So it's
Yeah.
it's a big space normally.
Yeah, but I love the artwork that you guys have up, and obviously the feel with it. I know that they're not called baskets; they're called something
No,
else.
they're
Right?
Maybe
called baskets.
Is it really? I thought there was like a more fancy.
If there is, we don't know it.
All right, good. Yeah, we don't want it either.
We
you
have
know, you
some,
can always just make up your own.
Yeah.
We've learned that. They're revision baskets.
Call them
biscuit
biscuits.
baskets.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
just say if you want our
Not a
beer,
tradition.
buy it online. Go to our website and buy it online.
Cool.
Or we have some new beers coming out in November that we're excited about.
Yeah.
One of which is Festive Week.
Yeah.
So,
Which was fantastic.
thanks.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, shout out to just support your local brewery, whether it's in Longmont or otherwise.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great beer out there and a lot of businesses that are still struggling one way or another. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but every time you buy a 4-pack or a 6-pack or a case or a keg, and I'm telling you to drink a shitload now as those winter months are approaching. Yeah, understand that it can be mutually beneficial. You can make the demons in your head go away, and you can also help a local business, which is pretty cool. Yeah, but otherwise, keep finding what you love. It's exciting out there.
Yeah. Well, this week we've got Outworld, our first show at your neighbors in Outworld in Longmont on Thursday, so pretty stoked about that. And we've got Halfpenny on Saturday. So make reservations online at Eventbrite. You can find the stuff on our Facebook page. I'm at Denver Comedy Lounge for 4 shows Friday and Saturday this weekend, so check those out too if you're not going to be able to go down to Halfpenny. And Steve, you got anything else?
I'll be at Infinite Monkey Theorem
Hell yeah.
Tuesday night. So this episode is the quickest episode. Like we're turning this will get posted tonight actually.
Nice.
No edits required. This thing is
Just put it out, it's gold.
ready to go.
Let it rip.
This is the first episode Corey hasn't said the N word on it. So we don't know.
Normally it's unfortunately a lot. One time is a lot. So
You'd be surprised how many people get offended by the word Nutella.
It's me. I'm very allergic.
It's a nut.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time. This has been awesome.
Thanks
You
for
guys are
having us.
amazing.
Yeah, check out
Everybody,
Primitive.
definitely
Very
come
good.
check out Primitive up in Longmont, and see ya.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Pleasure.
Bye. Nice.
Cool. thank you guys.
Together.
yeah, that's harmony.
Together.
There's a lot of good harmonization on this episode.
Yeah, we got this.
Can I crack one of these?
Please,
open?
that's right about it. Yeah, man. Like I said, we've got
Dude, the other two that
No
we had
rush.
were fucking awesome. Like,
Yay.
so glad.
I'm glad.
no, I even just mean the wild provision stuff you did too. Oh god.
Oh, look at that.
Bubbly boy.
These might have been some overfills. Let's see. Otherwise, we should be worried.
Otherwise, that's on me.
Yeah.
Because we had the dark lager.
Yeah, it's the CDL and the premium pale.
Yeah, both were fucking dope. I like both of those a lot. And paper towel.
I do you one better. Not even paper, baby. That's just fabric. I love it. Yeah.
I'd love to buy one of these for my girlfriend.
We can make that happen.
Unless she'd put me down with it.
Spawn.
Is it unisex or is it men's or women's?
Unisex.
Okay.
Yeah. And Lisa can tell you more about how women fit into it. Because despite myself having like a body dysmorphia, I still, I guess, am a traditional medium-sized man.
Did you guys have fun?
Good, I had a great time. Like I said, yeah. This is exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's kind of the goal. We just want to have fun with beer, folks.
Really, any excuse to make new friends and drink some beers is a good time.
Wait, do you know what the sizing's like for women with the sweatshirts?
Pretty true to size. I wear small or medium.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to get one from my
Yeah.
We just got our first game schedule.
Oh, for hockey?
Yeah. Like a
Fun.
schedule. Yeah. Wednesday.
Yeah, you guys are great. That was an awesome episode.
That was fun. Thanks for being so flexible with our
Oh, likewise.
so many
That wasn't just on you.
reschedules.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Because we both still work regular jobs too, right?
Right.
Don't we get to a point where it's
Oh no.
just stand up or just
Oh
fun?
no. Well.
All right, so maybe it wasn't just me.
Maybe.
I didn't even. Hey, to be fair, I didn't open it.
That was. I've never seen that happen. That was exciting.
I don't know where.
Maybe just get the other one and we'll
They're a little juicy.
just do that one.
Careful though.
I don't know where that popped.
Yeah, we still, I still work like a regular, like a
Yeah.
full-time job. It's
Right.
It's nice because the hours are really flexible.
Yeah.
I work
Yeah.
from home, so I can.
That's
kinda,
nice.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great.
Like I need these 2 hours here.
Yeah.
I work at a restaurant that makes me miserable.
Oh, sorry.
It's your fault.
This is. This one opened when he took the fork off.
Really?
I mean, only a little, and then I
Yeah.
opened it more, but
Well,
still.
that's good to know.
I don't know.
Because these all
They were all weird.
gushed a bit, so that's something to have to open. I'll have to do some more research, open some more four packs, as well as get them to Amanda to make sure there's not something else.
I've been in stores before where all of a sudden you just hear like pop,
Really?
pop, pop, and it's one brewery's like
The
batch of
warm
beer that's
store?
just like going, yeah, because
Oh.
they just have it on the warm shelf.
Cool. I don't detect anything weird yet, so let me know if you do. But
I'm getting like a ton of brown sugar.
Oh no.
Oh no,
yeah, brown sugar can work. We can
Oh, no.
work with that. Yeah, that wouldn't be a
like more of like no molasses-y kind
yeah,
of flavor.
yeah, totally. That's pretty. Yeah, for the style, it's pretty typical. We can do that. If you
What
start-
were you trying to brew this toward?
So there is a style called Polo Tomave. So the Czech dark lager that we brewed in the Czech Republic would be called Tomave Pivo, which just they're a very creative bunch.